The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to those of you watching on Facebook Live and YouTube. Welcome to LSRTV's coverage of the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series powered by English Auto L.L.C. I am Brian Macklin, and I'm joined in the broadcast booth tonight by my colleagues Gary Weaver and Brandon Cruz Montevice. And of course, we have the lovely and talented Cisco Scaramuza down in the virtual production trailer. Tonight, we are live from the Atlanta Motor Speedway, where the grip levels are low, but the excitement levels are sky high. And Gary, this is going to be a very exciting race. We were at Daytona last week. It was a 2.5 mile track. They were in packs racing at 200 miles an hour. That's not going to be the case at all here tonight. These guys are going to get spread out, and they are going to have to search for grip as the tires wear off.
Oh yeah, definitely, Brian. It's going to be really interesting to see how spread out these guys get and how it's just going to be amazing to see which lines that these drivers decide to use, especially after, you know, like you said, pack racing last week. Well, everyone's going to be spread out, and some people are going to have to deal with traffic as well.
Absolutely, and Brandon, we see these guys in qualifying. They're putting down some really fast laps, but as these tires wear out, the lap times are going to drop off significantly. We saw in the Monster Energy Cup Series race last night that the lap times are falling off as much as 3 seconds from the beginning of a run to the end of the run. How, as a driver, do you manage your tires throughout the course of a run to make sure that you have something left after 15 to 20 laps and you don't burn it off to where you're dropping through the field?
Well, we all saw on Sunday Kevin Harvick knowing how to use the throttle and coasting into the corners almost at the start-finish line and halfway down the back straightaway. These drivers are going to have to do the same thing with taking care of their tires. Like you said, I mean, these tires fall off so quick at this track, and you have to run them for close to 40 laps. So it's a two-way battle. It's a two-way street. Do you want to race hard and try and gain a big buffer so you pass all your competitors, or are you going to take care of your tires and then pass them once all the tires start falling off everyone else?
It's definitely one of those risk versus rewards things, and this being one of the older surfaces that we get to race on here on iRacing, and that the real life drivers get to run on, it creates quite a challenge, Gary, that these guys have to be able to work their way through, and it's completely different from what we saw at Daytona last week, or what we're going to see next week at Las Vegas. You've got a handful of drivers that are pretty good at conserving their tires that maybe don't necessarily have the short run speed. How do you manage that throughout the course of the race, especially if you get a short run at the end? You're used to doing long runs, and all of a sudden you get stuck with a short run. How do you change your driving strategy and the way you handle that race?
It just depends. You're just going to have to be careful and take it easy early on, as I believe our points are up on the screen right now as well.
Yeah, and you will see the points on your screen right now, and what a crazy race we had last week with Spencer Preet coming home with the victory, and of course he's going to hold that points lead temporarily speaking. Pretty impressive for him. He's already got himself a playoff spot as well, so got an opportunity to go out there and race for a championship, and we're about halfway through qualifying right now, and it looks like Tommy Ryan is at the top of the leaderboard, and he was pretty quick in practice as well. Put up a decent lap, a couple tenths off of the fastest guy, but currently sitting up there at the top of the leaderboard. But he's got a couple of guys behind him that really know how to get the job done, Brandon. That's Daniel Eberhardt and David Comstock. Of course, Comstock is our most recent champion in this series, so he definitely knows how to get the job done. It's going to be very interesting to see how this thing plays out.
Definitely. One of the guys that I wanted to look at was actually the 11 of Dylan Jones. He had one of the fastest cars in practice and the best average speed, so I think he'll be a competitor as well.
Absolutely, he will. Dylan Jones is one of those guys that he's always around at the end of the race, and he may not put up a fast lap in practice. He may not even put up a good lap in qualifying, and as of right now, he has not put up a lap in qualifying at all. So he'd be starting at the back of this field, but he's one of those drivers that he came pretty close to winning that championship last year as well, and definitely had a chance. But we're getting ready to go ahead and take a look at our grid for tonight. The laps are official, and Tommy Ryan is your pole sitter here tonight at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and starting at his outside will be Daniel Eberhardt starting in the number 90 machine, and then David Comstock will start third. We have Michael Gergregla starting in the fourth position, then we have Jeff Ward starting fifth, Lionel Kalisto will start sixth, then we have Carl Shedd starting seventh, Daniel Falkingham will start 8th. Spencer Preet, our Daytona winner from last week, he's going to start 9th. And Galen Goodman will start 10th.
Brendan Bowie beginning the 11th through 20th, starting in 11th, and starting in 12th will be Michael Cozy Jr. Kyle Kammerer will be starting in the 13th position, lucky number 13 for Kyle. Rodney Walker starting to his outside in 14th. And then starting in number 12 will be Ross Cato starting in the 15th position, and Sean Casto will be starting 16th to his outside as well. Starting in 17th will be the 00 of Gabe Wood, and the 32 of Shane Ewing will be to his outside starting in 18th. Seth the Merchant in the number 57 starts in 19th, and AJ Browning starting in 20th in car number 20 rounds out your top 20.
Nick Silver is going to start 21st, James Ross 22nd, Braden Whittaker 23rd, Dwayne Vincent's going to start 24th, Shane Stanley R is going to start 25th, Scott Water is going to start 26th, Drew Amston in the 82 is going to start 27th, Austin Koop going to be in the 6th car, and starting 29th will be Chris Hurrow.
You'll see the rest of your field run across the top of your screen here in just a moment, and that will be a 42-car field here tonight at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Real quick before we get going, Gary, 125 laps. If you're a driver, what's your strategy for tonight?
Well, definitely it would be take it easy as early on as possible. Save those tires if you can, and, well, just take it easy, and remember that you do have a halfway point during this race as well.
Absolutely, and Brandon, again, I'm going to go to the same thing. If you're in this field, say you're starting at the back of the field like we saw a couple of these drivers doing, Dylan Jones, David Washington, how do you approach this race knowing you have a lot of cars to pass and you have about 125 laps to do it?
Well, if you're starting 30th on back, you're pretty much going to want to take care of those tires. Don't want to get rid of that grip too fast. You don't want to race really hard, at least for the first 10 laps. I mean, these tires are going to fall off super quick. I'd say in the first 4 laps, we're going to see major changes in grip on the tires. So if you're starting that far back, you're certainly going to want to maintain your tires and start passing all the guys in front of you later in the run.
Oh, we're about to find out what's going to happen. 125 laps here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. The pace car is in. We're waiting for the green flag, and we have it. Green flag is out, and Tommy Ryan is down and away, and he's going to get a pretty good start here to this race as he gets away. They're trying to scramble 3 wide back in the middle of this pack already, though, but Tommy Ryan's going to get single file and get ahead of Daniel Eberhardt as they head through 1 and 2 for the first time.
Relatively single file for the most part, aside from that battle for third between the 17 of Michael Gorilla and the 42 of David Comstock down on the low side. But right now it looks like that 17 has the advantage on the outside, actually, and he's going to get that 3rd place position.
What a move that was for that 2nd position and that 3rd position right now as well. These guys are going at it, and David Comstock looks like he might be dropping back just a little bit now as he falls back into that 4th position, and he's got some challenge right behind him as well, as he's got the number 89 of Jeff Ward all over the back bumper of him as they go down the back straightaway, and now he's trying to get away from these guys, but he's got to be very mindful of his tires at the same time. Meanwhile, the lead has changed hands as Daniel Eberhardt has went to the point. Tommy Ryan falls back from 2nd to 3rd as Michael is able to get by him as well, and Tommy Ryan looks like he's in a little bit of trouble here now as he's falling back into the clutches of David Comstock.
Well, as you were saying, the 89 car, Jeff Ward's going to be taking the bottom lane this entire race. Been his lane the whole time. He didn't even try to get to the high side. He's been working guys down. Right now, he's the only car double file in the first 10, in the top 10 right now, fighting for 7th place with Daniel Fulco.
And you can see that side-by-side battle going on. Jeff Ward, Daniel Falkman, they are going at it right now. And currently the bottom of the racetrack is the place to be, Gary. And it will be for the first handful of laps. But as these tires wear on, I imagine, at least down in turns 1 and 2, you're going to see these guys begin to move up the racetrack. And at some point, they'll be up against that wall searching for grip, because that's going to be where the fastest place around the racetrack will be. Down in 3 and 4, it doesn't change too much. But in 1 and 2, definitely, I expect to see those guys moving up. So fighting for the bottom now is all fine and well, but at some point you're going to see the roles completely change for these guys.
Yeah, again, like you said, just before this race started, trying to find wherever that perfect grip is, and well, so far it looks like everyone's agreed on one thing, and that's definitely where to be on the track right now. But some people actually are running either the high line or the low line, so of course I'm a little bit wrong, and oh, a little bit huge wiggle off the corner was number 94th Galen Gidman. Goodness, that was an amazing save. So we're also going to be seeing that a lot out of turn number 2. Apparently he's right beside Rodney Wofford as he makes his way outside in the number 3.
And that was a very scary moment for that driver back there just a moment ago, but he was able to keep it going in the right direction, and he was able to stay on the racing surface, which is a very important thing to do. But these guys are already beginning to move up the racetrack just a little bit down in 1 and 2, and I'm kind of surprised to see them moving up this early. I figured they'd get at least 10 to 15 laps on the tires before doing so, but they've already decided that they feel like that might be the faster place to be. And you see most of the guys inside the top 10 are doing that right now. And Brandon, that comes with this older surface, the way that this track is built. The momentum that you can carry off the corners is a lot better on the outside of the racetrack versus down on the bottom. And you're going to see once they get side by side that the guy on the outside line in 1 and 2 is going to have the advantage, and more times than not will end up winning the battle.
Certainly most of the time you will. One thing you want to notice about this track is you don't see a whole lot of cars diamonding the corners. If you do that, you're pretty much guaranteed to burn those tires down. And you were talking about excitement earlier. Actually, 2 laps ago, Spencer Preet made contact with the outside wall at leaving turn 2 when he was racing his teammate Michael Cozy. So just a little taken and given by teammates, but you certainly don't want to use your tires up and use your car up this early.
Absolutely not, and not really much going on inside the top 10 right now. They're all pretty much single file. The first battle that we really have going on right now is around the number 97 of Lionel Calisto and the 1 of Daniel Falkman. These guys have been going at it for a couple of laps right now, and as I say that, we got a battle going on right in front of them as David Comstock has went to the bottom on the number 99 of Tommy Ryan, but Tommy was able to hold him off on the outside line right there down in 3 and 4. He's able to get clear of the 42 of David Comstock and will hold on to that 3rd position. And now he goes to the bottom of the racetrack looking to the inside of the number 17 machine down here in 1 and 2.
So many battles around the racetrack. In fact, there's even one just inside the top 15, or just outside of it, I should say, is between the 12 and the 32. That's Shane Ewing in the 32 on the very top side, and Ross Cato in the number 12 on the low side. So this group of cars have been trying to find some type of a line for grip as he ran board with that number 24. Again, a great view of this battle here tonight as well, but everyone just trying to figure out where to go, and again, just trying to save their tires as best as possible. As the 8 also goes to the high side, that's Kyle Kammer.
What a great battle that is right there for those guys. Kyle Kammer on the outside line trying to make it work, and he's doing everything he can to try to get away from these guys now as he's able to get clear of that battle behind him and now sets his sights on the 57 machine of Seth DeMerchant. Goes to the bottom of the racetrack. Can't quite get to him to get to his inside off of the corner. He actually got a little bit loose coming off of turn 4 and is going to have to catch up to, or catch that car just a little bit. Falls back into the clutches of Shane Ewing for the moment, and now he goes up to the outside line and opens that bottom up if anybody wants to go down there and take a chance, but not able to go down there and really make anything happen. You can see these guys behind him, they've kind of followed suit in that battle and just kind of followed him in line for the moment. And I do want to give a little bit of an update on a couple of guys that we expect to make their way through the field pretty quickly. Dylan Jones started back in that 35th position. Well, he's already climbed up to 29th, and David Washington, who started back in 36th, he's only managed to get up to 33rd. So Brandon, for a couple of these drivers, they're not really moving through the field as quickly as maybe they wanted to, especially for David Washington, but Dylan Jones seems to be able to figure it out as he's made up quite a few positions here in the first 12 laps.
Certainly, if you're passing almost half the field in the first 12 laps, I'd say you got a pretty good car and a pretty good setup. He knows how to take care of his tires. As we were just talking about a few laps ago when you were riding on board with Nick Silver, this track looks wide on the broadcast, but I can guarantee you there's pretty much only 2 lanes that you want to use, maybe 3. And another thing that plays into these passes and these drivers have to worry about is you're going to get aero tight and aero loose, especially if you're right behind someone entering turn 1 or turn 3. So you really have to time your passes, either leaving turn 2 out of turn 4, or you have to go to the bottom down one of the straightaways and make that inside line your lane for you.
Absolutely. Battle is on for the 3rd and 4th position, as well as the 5th and 6th position. David Comstock on the bottom of Tommy Ryan trying to make that move. And then right behind him, Lionel Kalisto, Daniel Falkman, and Jeff Ward going at it. A nice battle for the positions 3rd through about 7th right now. Comstock is able to really throw the car down into turn 1, gets clear of Tommy Ryan, now slides up the racetrack, and it looks like he almost maybe lost the grip in the car, and that opens the door for Tommy Ryan to go back to the bottom of the racetrack. Now down in turn 3, though, he's not able to stay with him, and Comstock will take control of that 3rd position, and he's able to get away from those guys, which now creates a battle going on for that 4th position, as it looks like Tommy Ryan is trying to defend that position from Lionel Kalisto now as they come off of turn 4 and head to the front stretch.
Yeah, it's a great crossover attempt by Tommy Ryan, but he just couldn't get it done. Not a lot of grip that he could get down there, but of course that's what everyone is running the middle line for. They're just trying to find their own grip as well. So of course I believe the closest we have on track right now, at least in single file, will pretty much be throughout 1st through, I'm looking around, and well, pretty much everybody actually, unless somebody decides to make a passing attempt or just runs the high line or low line. But nonetheless, we have finally settled out for now, and we are currently single file.
And one thing that's very curious to me right now is that these guys are searching around in 3 and 4 and moving up the racetrack as well. That's not something I personally expected to see. I've seen in many occasions that these guys move up the racetrack down in 1 and 2, but not so much down in 3 and 4. And that's something that we're seeing a lot of here in the early stages of this race. That's very interesting because I just didn't expect it to happen. But you see a couple of these guys have been able to make some moves. I watched a couple of minutes ago that the number 3 of Rodney Walford, he went to the outside line and was able to make a move on the 37 machine of Spencer Preet down in 3 and 4 and make that pass. That's really impressive to me, and he's been moving up through the field as well. He started back in the 14th position, and he's all the way up to 8th right now in that 3 car, and he's looking really good at this point, Brandon, as he's one of our biggest movers of the race so far.
Definitely. I mean, I was looking at Daniel Eberhardt these last couple laps. He's been running the high lane in 1 and 2, and then he runs the bottom in 3 and 4. Some of the guys farther in the pack, like in the 31st position and whatnot, they're just sticking to the bottom of the track, and then others are staying at the top of the track the whole time. So I think it's a good balance of using both lanes and both corners to your advantage, and that's certainly what Daniel's doing right now to extend his lead over Michael.
He's doing a really good job so far as he has opened that gap up to almost 0.8 of a second over the number 17 machine here, and he's really got control of this race at this point. He jumped out and took the lead early on. He got that lead away from Tommy Ryan. I think it was on lap 3 when he took control of this thing, and he has not looked back ever since, and that's something that I expected to see out of this number 90 machine. He was really quick on all of these mile-and-a-halfs last year, and it's good to see that he has brought that speed and that dominance back again this season, and definitely looking like he's going to be one of the guys to beat throughout the course of this year, and is doing a really good job. And one thing that I really am interested to see is, as this race progresses, if there's any guys that are in the middle of the field that are able to get up there and really challenge him. I'm very curious to see, once guys like David Washington and Dylan Jones can get up through the field, if they can get up there and battle with him, because these are a couple of guys, especially David Washington. I don't know if you guys remember or not, but he was extremely dominant on all the mile-and-a-halfs last year. Or Martin Truex of this series last year, and definitely was the guy to beat, but he's not really moving up through this field the way I expected him to. Still running back in just the 28th position right now after starting 36.
Oh, crash out of 2. Sorry, out of turn 4, that's a number 2. Sorry to cut you off there. Colby Buck got into the wall out of turn number 4. You saw that as we were riding on board with him as well. Lost out of 4, got into the inside wall with heavy right side contact, but luckily no caution. But unfortunately for him, he's going to fall back.
And like you said, no caution there as he just got up against the wall, and you saw it on the screen just a moment ago. The incident that happened with a number 2 machine, and some pretty heavy damage to the right side of that car, but no caution, and I don't believe he got anybody else involved in it, so that's good for the guys that were around him at the time. And we're going to stay green here, and back to the point that I was talking about, though, David Washington, being the mile-and-a-half king that he was last year, sitting back, he's actually moved up to the 26th position, partly because of that incident that happened with Colby Buck, but definitely one of those guys, if he can get some track position, I imagine, Gary, that he might actually be a factor and might be able to challenge Dan here before this thing is all said and done.
Yeah, if you get titled the Martin Truex Jr. of the series, then in that case, you should be confident for your next season as well, because that shows how much amazing performance that you have as a bit of a pass from the from Randy Yoakum to the 95 of Shane Stanley Iyer in the back for that 30th position. But of course, again, as you can see, mainly everyone is just single file right now. Again, just trying to figure out where to go. Sorry, it's Shane Ayer. It's my mistake. It's actually another battle between, for the 14th position, the number 45 of Carl Shedd and the 24 of Nick Silver. Actually, never mind, as it looks like Nick will get the advantage out to number 4 with the outside pass.
And Nick Silver is another one of those drivers that he didn't necessarily have the season he was looking for last year, but he's definitely got a lot of speed in his car, and if he can get some things put together and not get caught up in some accidents like he did last year, I believe he's one of those guys that you really have to look out for to be a threat to not only win some races, but to potentially be a threat to win a championship if he can just get the pieces of the puzzle put together properly. And you can definitely see the speed that he's got. But Brandon just whispered in our ears and gave us a really good point. We're 24 laps into this run, and the tire fall-off has already gone over 2 seconds from what they started this race at. And the yellow flag is out for the first time here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll have an update on that in just a second.
We have the 88 upside down. That's Andrew Farnierson. Looks like the 82 also involved on your screens. You can see that's Drew Adamson. Goodness, what happened to have the 88 on his roof here? Replay coming up in a few moments.
And it looks like just off of turn 4, the 88 might have gotten just a little loose. It looks like he almost maybe clipped the apron just a hair coming off the corner, and that kicked the car sideways, and unfortunately collected a couple of other drivers here to bring out our first caution of the evening. And as you see on your screen now, he was upside down in the infield and had to unfortunately take an early exit to this race. You're going to see the replay on your screen here as we are speaking, and you will see that just down off of turn 4, he's running the bottom of the racetrack, and it looks like the car just steps out. And actually, he got a little bit of help in front of him. As you see there, the number 52 machine, I believe that was, got into him and kicked him around. I believe that was actually the 82 machine. Got into him and sent Freenars up into the wall. And that's going to bring out our first caution of the evening. And with that, I was actually getting ready to bring up the idea of green flag pit stops, Brandon. We're now not going to see them. We're going to see these guys down on pit road under caution for the first time. And this is a very critical stop for these drivers. You cannot make any mistakes. You have to be completely perfect down here. We've seen a lot of guys in the off-season during the Icebreaker Series. They were sliding through their pit boxes. You can't afford a mistake here.
Certainly, and I'd expect everyone to take 4 tires here. I think it'd be foolish to take gas and go or 2 tires right now. I'm watching Daniel right now. He's pulling into his pit stop perfectly. He doesn't have to back up. That was a beautiful pit stop. Crew members replacing the right side right now as the 42 of David Comstock behind him has to back up. He slid through his pit. He's still backing up right now as Daniel's pit crew is going to the left side, changing all 4 tires as I suspected, and Daniel Ebenhardt's going to beat the field out of pit road.
And that was a big mistake for David Comstock and a big win for Daniel Eberhardt. He will win that race off of pit road, and while the rest of the field has already begun to leave, David Comstock's just now getting out of his pit box, so that's going to cost him easily 10, 15, maybe 20 positions before it's all said and done. But Daniel Eberhardt will be the big winner off of pit road, as he was the first guy to come out of the pits, followed by, I believe that was Michael Gorilla, and then we have Tommy Ryan. David Washington came out of the pits pretty good there. I'm curious to see if maybe he tried 2 tires or if he just drove through. He might have missed his pit box. We'll have to keep an eye on that for just a second. And I am being told that we have to watch for penalties because they've kind of updated their penalty system here on pit road, and the eyes in the skies are going to be watching for that to see what happens. For going into your pit boxes, you can only go through 2 pit boxes coming in, and you can only come out of 2 pit boxes coming out. So, Gary, that's one thing that we have to really pay attention to, and as a driver, that's extremely difficult to do.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate too, because Jeff Ward, the driver of the number 89, got an EOL penalty for driving through too many pit stalls on pit exit.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately that's going to be an end of the longest line penalty for Jeff Ward. Looks like Spencer Preet also is going to get nailed for driving through too many pit stalls on exit of pit road. So one of those things that as a driver you just have to mentally make yourself aware of what you're doing, and it's almost something that you have to practice even coming into the pits and just making sure that you're not driving through too many stalls on entry and exit. And typically speaking, I think you see it more on exit, Brandon, because you're just focused on trying to get up to speed and get out of the pits as quickly as possible. And we got another one now, Brandon, as Carl Shed also got nailed for too many pit stalls on exit of pit road.
I mean, one of the things that people don't really think of is whenever you take those tires, they have the cold air pressures. They don't really have the grip. They still got that that sealant that they have whenever they put the Goodyear Eagles into the mold and take them out. So you have to scuff them before you can really have grip. So a lot of the times you'll spin your tires leaving pit road, or you might just not be paying attention and you're trying to just gain all the time you can. So that's why we see a lot of drivers actually leaving with like 3 or 4 pit boxes.
Absolutely, and just one of those deals where you have to, like I said, just prepare yourself for it and make sure that you understand what's going on. And now for a couple of these drivers, you're just going to have to drop back. And now for these 3 drivers especially, Gary, they have to reset because they're going to go to the back. They're going to lose all their track position, especially for Jeff Ward. He was up inside the top 10, and now he's going to be back. It looks like he's going to be around that 30th, maybe 35th position when it's all said and done. So early on, you can still make up from it, but you have a lot of work to do for the rest of this race.
Yeah, it's really, really terrible for them as you said, Jeff Ward's in 37th right now. I'm looking for Carl Shed. He's in 36th. And of course, Spencer Pre has also fallen to 39th as well. So again, just really, really unfortunate as, well, we're going to be taking our field through turns 3 and 4. And of course, we'll be getting the restart in just a few moments as well. Ford Mustang GT pace car ready to pull off to its safety to pit road in just a few moments as well. As you see the unfortunate number 88 sitting there in pit road. Off goes the pace car. Leader to number 90, Daniel Eberhard, is already on the lap pedal pretty much just as the pace car goes off. He is down and away. We are green once again, Brandon.
As the outside line didn't really get going that time, as Rodney Wofford and a couple guys are getting a little bit of contact entering one. But one thing that we didn't talk about in the start is that the restart zone is super slick. Like I was saying, you got cold tires as the 89 or the 99 car of Tommy Rain got a little loose out of 2. But whenever you put new tires on, you have to warm them up. Otherwise, you're going to be sliding around like we saw on that restart. You're going to be spinning the tires. It looks like a lot of the guys are going to be going back to that bottom line right now that they'll get the grip and they don't have to really conserve.
Yeah, of course, restarts are a key factor as well. You just got to be careful with the throttle positioning as well. Make sure you don't mess up and spin your tires and end up spinning out, taking out yourself, or probably some other guys with you as well. As looks like we got some side-by-side action for about your 3rd, 4th place position between the 24, the 99, 13, 97, the 11, and the 3. We got 3 wide in the back as well, 2 wide now. Action all over the racetrack.
Nick Silver leading that inside line past the 99 of Tommy Rain. Dwayne Vincent just going to follow right behind the 24s. It looks like Dylan Jones, the guy who started in 35th position, is using that inside lane, going to take 6th position away from Tommy that time by, and he might even lose another position to Rodney Wofford as Rodney has the bottom lane down the back straightaway this time by.
Yeah, Rodney Wofford using that inside lane as best that he can to his advantage right now, as he is on the inside of Lionel Kalisto and that number 97 right now. And of course, also joining the high side is going to be Tommy Ryan as well. Leaders racing side by side near contact as Brandon Boo was looking to the inside, and that number 43 coming off turn number 4. He is going to be right up against that back bumper.
One thing Daniel Ebenhart wasn't used to that last run was someone right behind him, and that's exactly what Brandon's doing. He's going to take the bottom away from Daniel as they enter turns 3 right here, and Daniel's just going to let him have it. He's saying, hey, I'm going to conserve my tires. I'll get back to you later, as Brandon Bue takes the lead, and Michael is going to try and do exactly what Brandon just did and take 2nd place away from Daniel.
And you're going to see the 57 of Seth Merchant get loose coming out of turn number 4 as well. You can see it right there. Sorry, turn number 2, I should say, as everyone is single file currently right now. You can see him. You can see the number 57 on the inside lane. He's going to come up right here and just gets a little bit loose near contact, actually, right there. And goodness, amazing save by everybody out there. Look at that 57. Seth the Merchant, he's wheeling that thing. Dirt track experience, I believe he has. Goodness gracious, that is amazing skill by Seth the Merchant to keep it off everybody.
That was absolutely insane. If that was anyone else, I guarantee it would have been a wreck. And I bet Austin was wanting it to be a wreck with him getting sideways and pretty much causing that down the back straightaway, as Daniel Eberhardt is slowly catching back up to Brandon right now. He's got his lead down to 3 car lengths as Daniel's going to take the inside. He's going to try and get to him maybe out of 4 this time by, but I think we'll see Daniel possibly getting by Brandon again. I'd say probably in the next 8 laps, because Daniel just didn't lose as much speed that last run as the other guys, while everyone else is losing almost 2 1/10 second on their tires. Daniel was averaging about a second and 8/10, so he has his car set up and he knows how to take care of his tires.
Indeed he does, and he has moved up into that second position, as you just mentioned. He has set his sights on that number 43 of Brandon Bowie. He wants to get that race lead back and try to take control of this thing once again. But how about Brandon Bowie and that number 43 machine jumping out to the lead and being able to get away from these guys for a moment? He looks like he's got a pretty fast car, as he's actually gained a little bit of ground on that number 90 machine here in the last couple of laps. He's opened that gap up to almost 0.3 of a second here in just the last lap or two, doing a really good job getting ahead of these guys and trying to separate himself from them. But you also have to worry, is he pushing that car too hard? We saw how much the tires fell off over the course of 25 laps. Is he running too hard, Gary, to the point where he might actually regret this if we get a long enough green flag run?
Well, you can ask that same question to Rodney Wofford, who is on the inside of the number 24 of Nick Silver as well, looking for that 5th place position, or actually what I believe is that 6th place position, 7th place actually, nope, 6th, and Rodney Wofford's going to get the inside lane right now as a pass in front of them as well. Dylan Jones will get that 4th place position from Dwayne Vincent as well. So going back to what you were asking, probably you would just have to, again, just 25 laps into the run, the tires were already falling off. You should get your team to check your tire wear and tell you what strategy you should do at the very least to conserve your tires, because don't forget, you have a huge majority of this race remaining as well, as we're only on lap 38 of 125.
Exactly, lap 38 of 125. Still almost 100 laps left to go in this race, so plenty of time to make up for anything that's going on, and plenty of time to get yourself up through the field. And how about a couple of these guys that have climbed up dramatically through the field here, mostly in part because of what they were able to do on pit road. Dylan Jones all the way up from 35th to 4th. And how about Dwayne Vincent as well? He started back in the 24th position. Well, he's running in 5th, and these guys are both showing a lot of speed now. And Dylan Jones is that guy. I'm telling you, if he can get up there and can get a little bit more track position, get closer to Daniel Eberhardt, I think he can give Dan a run for his money on the long run. He was one of those guys last year that was really good after a handful of laps, and definitely showing a lot of speed here, as he's right behind the number 17 machine, trying to make that move for the 3rd position right now on the bottom of the racetrack, just doing everything he can to try to give him a run. He gets a great run coming up off of turn 4 this time, and looks to the outside of Michael as they head off into turn 1. Is he going to be able to make it work? No, Michael was able to slam the door on, but here they go again down in 1 and 2.
Dylan Jones, he's using that high lane just as the 43 car is using it. It seems like Dylan's just trying to, as he's doing it, as I'm about to say it, he was just trying to get his bumper to the outside of the 17 car to take the lane away, especially as they're entering through right now. He should actually get a run on Daniel Eberhardt this time out of 4 like he did last time to pass Michael. But it's very interesting right now, because almost all the leaders are running the same pace right now. They're pretty much all doing 32.6s, all except the 11 of Dylan, who's running 32.4s right now. So I'm very curious to see how Dylan's going to mess with Daniel and Brandon.
And we have a battle for the lead, as here comes Daniel Eberhardt on the outside of Brandon Bowie for the lead down in 3 and 4. He got a great run coming off of turn 2, and that allowed him to get to the outside of the 43 machine, and they are still side by side to come off turn 4. Eberhardt has the advantage. He's going to lead at the line. He's going to bring Dylan Jones with him as well as they go down into 1. Now they're side by side still through 1 and 2. Bowie goes all the way to the bottom of the racetrack, tries to find some grip down there, but off the corner, here comes Daniel Eberhardt with a great run. He will get clear to the race lead, so back to the point goes the 90, and Dylan Jones is fighting for 2nd, and he is going to slam that car down into 3 and 4, and he will also take control of that 2nd position. So Brandon Bowie is going to go from 1st to 3rd in less than a lap.
Shows how Brandon Bowie could have used the stars way too much and may drop back 1 more position as a 17 of Michael Gorilla is also going to be riding his back bumper. Actually, pass for the lead, though. The number 11 of Dylan Jones is going to be looking to the inside of Eberhard as well. That 90 on the high side can't get it done out of turn number 2.
This right here is the matchup I've been looking for all night long. Daniel Eberhard and Dylan Jones. These two, they have a pretty good history with one another. They've been teammates in the past. They've got an alliance going on again this season. And definitely two guys that know how each other race against one another. And two guys that are extremely competitive. Daniel Eberhard is not the guy that likes to pull over and let anybody by. And that includes his own teammates. He's going to race you hard no matter who it is. And he's going to do this to Dylan Jones even if he feels like Dylan has the faster car. And these guys are going to go at it for a while, but the battle is on for third right now as Brandon Bowie is in danger of losing that position. As we've already mentioned, he went from first to third, and now it looks like Michael might have an opportunity here to go after him here down on the bottom of the racetrack. They are side by side for that third and fourth position.
Michael trying to use that inside lane out of four to get the advantage down the front straightaway right now. I'm very curious to see what Brandon's going to do on the high side, if he's going to let him by, and he's going to keep fighting him right now. He's staying on the high side, making Michael take that bottom, making him use his tires, and the 43 is just going to keep that momentum. I expect to see him maintain his position and almost probably clear him as they're going through right now. He's just almost there. If Brandon can get to the bottom, I'm sure he's going to take the lane away from Michael, and Michael's just going to have to do this all over again.
And this is the one advantage you have to being able to run that outside line. You can carry that momentum, and even if you're not the quicker car, you keep that guy on the bottom from being able to get the run up off the corner. You're able to take that momentum away from them and keep him from being able to make the pass. And that's exactly what we're seeing Brandon Bowie do right here. He knows he's slower than the 17 machine right now, but by keeping that car wound up on the outside line, he's able to hold on to that position. And now he's able to get clear of him, and he's kind of taking control of that third position for the moment and is trying to get away from him now. But that's something that you have to do as a racer. You don't want to lose too much track position, even if it is early in the race like it is right now, only lap 47 of 125, but you don't want to give up too much track position, because if we get a caution, you want to make sure you're in a good spot for the restart, and the further back you fall, the worse position you're going to be in for the restart. So he's doing exactly what he needs to do as a driver, and he's actually been able to hold on as he's starting to get away from that 17 machine.
Not only did he keep his position, but he's also saving his tires running that high line as well, and so are the front two runners as well. That's Daniel Eberhard and Dylan Jones. Well, now they're running the middle line. I've seen this difference right here, and it should be seen in this next corner as well. I noticed while you were mentioning that is that these guys are running the higher lane than they were in turns 3 and 4 as they do right now. You can see they're running one lane higher than normal. As you can see, the 90 is right up against the wall. Goodness, that would have been really devastating for both he and the 11 of Dylan Jones had they gotten had Eberhard gotten into the wall and lost some speed as well. But your front two are Fords, your third and fourth are Chevrolets, and so is your fifth place position as well. So basically it's Ford versus Chevrolet right now, but you can see that the Fords are powering ahead right now, but this could be also due to tire wear.
And that's something that we saw yesterday in the Monster Energy Cup Series and last week at Daytona. But while all that's going on, we have a nice battle going on right at the back half of the top 10, at the tail end of the top 10 actually. Tommy Ryan and Lionel Callisto, these guys are having a great battle. Tommy Ryan actually just was able to make the pass on the 97 of Lionel Callisto to move into that 8th position and jump ahead of him. But these guys were side by side for a good lap and a half to 2 laps, giving it everything they had. And I'm really impressed with how well the guys on the bottom of the racetrack are actually able to hang on. I really thought that at this point of the run, the guys on the outside line would have the advantage, and they have for the most part, but you can actually make some time down on the bottom of the racetrack, and if you know how to get through the middle of the corner properly, you can actually make that pass down there and make it work. And that's what Tommy Ryan was just able to do to take that 8th position away.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there. It's something I wasn't expecting coming into this race, is that some of the guys on the bottom, like you were saying, they can maintain their position. They really don't lose a whole lot. I mean, you got David Washington right now trying to get by Gabriel Wood on the inside for 13th place. I mean, I don't see that inside lane really losing a whole lot of time, and I mean, David Comstock and David Washington are both going to gain positions down the front straightaway on the inside lane, and probably in 1 and 2 right now. So it's very interesting to see that the tires really aren't losing them that much time on the inside versus what I thought and what I saw in the first run, as we have a caution somewhere on the track.
Yep, and our second caution of the evening here tonight is going to come out. I have not quite figured out where the caution came out for, but second caution nonetheless, and it's going to keep these guys once again from having to come to pit road under green flag conditions, and that's a big deal. And I'm hearing that it was the 59 machine that brings out our caution. Chris Gillum was the reason for this second caution of the evening. Looks like he was around on the front stretch here coming off of turn 4. Another similar situation where just got loose coming off the corner. He went up and smacked the outside wall along the front stretch and then came to a rest right at the start finish line. You'll see a replay on your screen here in just a moment, but unfortunate break for that number 59 machine.
Yeah, you saw the replay there on your screen. Saw him snap around. Luckily, again, no one else was involved in this wreck as well. So I believe this is your second caution with one solo incident as well. As you can see him in pit road right now. I believe he's actually changed his mind, but nonetheless, everyone will be coming down to pit road in just a few moments, as well as here they come down pit road, being led by number 90 of Daniel Eberhardt.
And Daniel Eberhardt once again is going to be that leader coming to pit road. Dylan Jones was the first car to slide into his box, as he had a really early pit box because of his lack of a qualifying position. So he's going to be the first guy to get service on that car, looking for 4 tires and fuel back there, while everybody else is just now getting to their pit boxes. And we saw in the first pit stop, David Comstock made a big mistake. You can't afford any more mistakes like that if you're any of these drivers. And so far, it looks like everybody at the front of the field gets a clean entry into their pit boxes. I didn't see anybody in the front half of this field slide through and make any mistakes, and Daniel Eberhardt will once again be the first guy to make it off of pit road, as he's going to easily win that battle coming out of the pits. Looks like Brandon Bowie might have beat Dylan Jones out for second, and then Dylan Jones will be in third. We got Michael in fourth, and then how about Rodney Walford? He's up to fifth now.
We came darn close to having contact between the 43 of Brandon and Dylan Jones right there. I think Dylan was just trying to stay right by the grass so he wouldn't interrupt anyone's pits, and we almost had a small collision there, but they worked it out. So our top 5 really hasn't changed. No one made any gigantic mistakes entering pit road or entering their pit stall that time around, so it's going to be interesting. David made up a couple positions, but it's going to be really interesting to see how David and all them slowly move their way back up the field.
Absolutely it is, and that's one of those deals where, like we saw with David Comstock, he fell back. I believe he was 18th when it was all said and done prior to, or when we went back green, and he was only able to get up to, I believe, the 14th position, and now through pit stops it looks like he's going to be around the 12th position. So definitely, you know, he's having a hard time getting back up through the field. Track position is that important, and that's why you can't make these kinds of mistakes. Comstock was up inside the top 10. I believe he was up inside the top 5 when that happened, but as a result of that mistake, he's lost all that track position, and he just has not been able to get back up through the field. So you cannot afford a mistake, whether it be on your part or on the part of your pit crew. And Gary, it's just one of those things you have to be really careful about.
Yeah, it's really not such a good thing for Comstock as well. As you can see, he's currently in 11th right now, so that's a good thing for him. One thing I've noticed as well is that David Washington in the initial pit stops has actually originally just driven through pit road instead of actually making his pit stop. But now we have a penalty for Michael Guerrilla as well. Drove through 2 pit stalls on pit exit. So that's, I believe, your 4th driver of the day to get 2 pit stalls on pit exit. I believe we're going to be seeing that a lot, and it's going to be happening a lot as well. Probably even more if we ever do get a chance to have green flag pit stops.
And you're absolutely right about that. Green flag pit stops, you're not really thinking about that kind of thing, and it's a lot harder to keep yourself in that mentality. And we've gotten lucky that we haven't had more penalties, I believe, than we could have had here tonight. These guys have been pretty good about it so far. As you mentioned, I think that was just our 4th penalty of the evening, but still, it's just one of those things that these drivers have to be mindful of. But we're going to go ahead and reset the field real quick, as we got the one to go here for the green flag restart here. Looks like Daniel Eberhardt will be your race leader. Then we have Brandon Bowie starting in the 2nd position. Dylan Jones will restart in 3rd. Then we have Rodney Walford in 4th. Dwayne Vincent will be 5th. Then Tommy Ryan, Galen Gidman, Gabe Wood, Lionel Callisto, and now David Comstock is back inside the top 10. So a pretty good beginning to have a decent rebound for the number 42 machine, but still a long ways to go. And Brandon, we got about a little bit over half the race left, so these guys have got to start getting themselves in position to try to win this race.
Well, you want to talk about being in position right now for your top 5 drivers start outside the top 10. I'm talking about Dwayne, Rodney, Dylan, and Brandon, your 5th through 2nd place drivers right now. So it can be done. We've had drivers prove it. I just can't wait to see how it'll unfold through the second half of this race.
Absolutely. Waiting for the iRacing Ford First Mustang to dip to the safety of pit road once again for our 3rd restart of the race. Daniel Eberhardt's in control. Pace car is in, and we are back under green here at Atlanta. And Daniel Eberhardt's able to get away. He got a great restart, and the outside line just did not get going as Brandon Bowie looks like he might have spun the tires a little bit. That's going to move him back to 3rd as Dylan Jones is able to take control of that 2nd position as they work through 1 and 2.
Just like the Monster Energy Cup Series, the outside line cannot get going, but Brandon Bowie's actually going to be on the outside of Dylan Jones coming out of turn number 2. That is an amazing job. I don't think Dylan actually had the momentum to get in front of Brandon Bowie, but Bowie is now in 2nd, and that number 43. He's looking to the outside of the leader right now, so that slight bit of a stall may have been great for him as Eberhardt gets the lead at the line this time around. And of course, another penalty. Shane Stanley Air was given an EOL penalty, 2 minute pit stalls on pit exit as well. Your 5th driver of the day, as Brandon Bowie actually has the advantage coming out of turn number 2. Your new leader once again, that number 43.
And we saw this on the last restart. Brandon Bowie jumped out really early, was able to take the race lead, but as the race ran on, he began to fall back. So it looks like a similar strategy is going to play out for this number 43 machine as he does take the race lead. He's taking control, and he is trying to drive away from these drivers. He's got Dylan Jones right on his heels, though, as they go down into turn 1. It's not going to be as easy as he wants it to be, as that 11 machine is all over him trying to take that position away.
Dylan Jones, your driver who was fastest in practice and who has worked his way throughout the field, currently 2nd right now. I'm very, very curious to see how he's going to deal with going around Brandon, only because he's been around the whole pack. He's been trying to gain positions, leapfrogging through the field. Now he just has 1 car to pass. Once he gets past him, it's an open track. He can do whatever he wants, so I'm very curious to see what Dylan's going to use here, whether he's going to use the inside or outside, as he gained almost a car length on that entry alone.
Doing a really good job at trying to get all the pressure that he can on that 43 machine, and this is one of those things that Dylan Jones is so good at. He's good at intimidating the guys that he is chasing, and he's good at making them make a mistake. And so far we haven't seen Bowie make any mistakes, other than I personally think he's just driving the car a little too hard and using those tires up, but he also knows that that might be his best chance to get out front and give himself an opportunity to maybe challenge these guys for a race victory. But now the battle is on for the race lead, as here comes Dylan Jones to the outside of that 43 machine. He's trying to make it work down in 1 and 2. Can he make it work as they come off turn 2? We're just going to have to wait and see. He's got a great run coming off the corner, and he's going to try to challenge for that lead as they head down into 3.
He's got that outside lane, so a bit reminiscent as well, but Brandon Bowie may have a strategy, push hard early on and then conserve. But for now, Dylan Jones right up against, pretty much right beside that number 43. He'll get the lead coming out of turn number 4 as well. And unfortunately for Colby Buck, he got a black flag for avoidable contact under green, so that most likely occurred in pit road. Honestly, I'm not sure as of yet, but considering that pit road was really congested, it most likely occurred in pit road, as well as, well, Daniel Eberhardt was looking to the inside of Bowie, but couldn't get the momentum out of turn number 2.
Could not get the momentum, but Dylan Jones was able to take that race lead, and he is going to jump out in front and control this thing at the halfway point. And as we cross the halfway point of tonight's race, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our midway race break, and tonight that mid-end, we're going to hold on for that for just a moment as we have another caution here
6 of Austin
at
Coupe.
Atlanta. And I'm hearing it's the 6 of Austin Coupe. He's down and around in the middle of 3 and 4, and looks like he's got some pretty significant damage to the right side of that number 6 machine.
As we're looking on the replay right now, it looks like Austin's just trying to use the high side. He's trying to get around Rod Flag right now, and it looks like he just got loose, came in contact with the outside retaining barrier, and got sideways in 3 and 4. Austin's not having the race that he wanted, having contact with Seth DeMerchant earlier in the race that didn't bring out a caution, and now he has this one. So not the race Austin Coupe is looking for.
Absolutely not. He's had a rough go of it so far, and that's going to bring out, I believe, what was that, our 3rd caution of the evening here tonight, and going to slow these guys back down, and it may bring these guys back to pit road. So we're going to hold off on that midway race break for just a moment and wait and see if these guys elect to come to pit road for another round of pit stops. And I have to believe, Gary, we might see these guys back in. It was only a handful of laps, so we know how important tires are here at Atlanta.
Yeah, tires matter, especially on, I believe, after 2 laps in the initial run, as well, your information about cautions was shown. Definitely, as it looks like everyone's going to be coming to pit road again as well. Maybe 2 tires, maybe not, but I'm going to be looking through the field and see if we have any contact. It just looks really squished. As it looks like the cone is accidentally taken out as well, but we're going to see who takes how many tires. As it looks like the number 43, Brandon Bowie, will get into his pit stall. 2 pit stalls in, thankfully for him.
And this is our best opportunity for these guys to do 2 tires should they choose, because it was such a short run, so we just have to wait and see if anybody goes for it. Right now, I have not seen anybody that has really jumped at that opportunity. I believe Dylan Jones went ahead and took 4. Looks like everybody up here is going to take 4 as well. And I'm kind of surprised at that, but at the same time, I'm not really. Tires are so important. And it looks like we got a heck of a race coming off of the pits right there. I believe Dylan Jones will win it. And I'm hearing that the 99 machine did indeed take 2 tires right there. So a pretty big moment for him. It's going to give him an opportunity to get back to the front. He was our pole sitter here tonight, Gary, and now he's got an opportunity to get back to the front.
Yeah, lucky for him, as looks like Shane Parrish, also another driver that just went, that just did a pass through. I believe he actually did turn in to get to his pit stall, but he couldn't get to it as well. So just one of those moments where pit road is just so clustered and crowded that, well, unfortunately, he couldn't actually get to his pit stall as he's going to head in right now. But in a way, this could be an advantage, but we're going to find out if Shane Parrish can improve on his position.
All right, well, while we are under caution, we're going to take an opportunity to go ahead and complete our Midway race break, and tonight it's being brought to you by English Auto L.L.C. And English Auto L.L.C. is a full-service luxury automobile repair center in Arlington, Maryland, conveniently located to serve both the Baltimore and D.C. markets. English Auto specializes in Jaguar, Land Rover, Mercedes, Volvo, and BMW service. Founded in 2007, English Auto is now in its 11th year of business, and with a staff that has over 60 years of combined experience in the automotive service industry, English Auto has an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. For more information, visit them online at www.englishauto.us and through social media at facebook.com/English Auto and on Twitter at English Auto LLC. Now everything has cycled back through. We're going to go ahead and go through our field real quick. Dylan Jones is at the top as he's back into the race lead. Tommy Ryan is in second. Daniel Eberhardt will be third. Brandon Bowie is fourth. Then we have Rodney Walford in fifth. Dwayne Vincent in sixth. Galen Gidman in seventh. Nick Silver is eighth. Lionel Callisto is ninth. And Daniel Falkman is 10th.
Next up will be Michael Cozy Jr. in 11th, Spencer Preet 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th are David Comstock, Gabe Wood, and Ross Cato, respectively. Chris Parkman, Shane Ewing, Jeff Ward, Sean Casto, and Carl Shedd will round out your top 20.
21st will be Kyle Kramer. 22nd, Travis Brown. AJ Browning's going to be in 23rd position right now. Seth DeMerchant, 24th. David Washington, a guy that we expect to see at the front of these types of races right now, currently in 25th. James Ross is 26th. Brian Campbells is 27th. Braden Whitetalker's 28th. Shane Arey is 29th. And right now, Chris Horo is rounding out your top 30.
Sitting in 31st, we have Scott Walter. Then we have Randy Yoakum, Michael Gorilla. Shane Parrish is 34th. Then we have Austin Coop in the 35th position. Eric Stanford sits 36th. Drew Adamson will be 37th. Rod Flagg is 38th. And the last car on the lead lap is Andrew Jones. He's back in the 39th position. One lap down in 40th is Colby Buck. Then we have Mike Taylor in 41st. Chris Gillum is in 42nd. Andrew Freenarch, who is having some connection issues early on, he is 43rd and rounds out this 43 car field. And once again, that full field rundown was brought to you by English Auto LLC, and they are also our premier sponsor for this series this year. But we're about to go back green flag racing as the pace car is in, and Dylan Jones has control. He gets a little bit of a tire spin on the restart, but he's able to get up through the gears pretty well, and he brings Daniel Earhart with him. And once again, the outside line does not get going. Tommy Ryan just could not get through the gears. He's 3 wide as they head into 1.
3 wide as well, and they're going to make contact. Tommy Ryan spun the tires, and he got a little bit loose on that restart as well. He's going to be falling back really quickly throughout the pack. He restarted, I believe, second or fourth as well, but 3 wide once again between the 24 and the 13. Tommy Ryan has just fallen from about 2nd to 6th, and he's still falling back by the looks of it right now. And it looks like we actually have a spin coming out of turn number 4 as well in the grass. That is number 97 of Lionel Kalisto. He's going to keep it under control and cut it through the grass instead of trying to. He's actually going to keep it on the apron right now. Smart move as well, but an amazing save by Lionel as well.
Yeah, very big moment for the number 97 machine, but fortunately for him and fortunately for the rest of the field, he kept that thing in the grass and kept it on the apron down in 1 and 2 to avoid bringing out of caution and causing a pretty big wreck, and is able to keep that thing underway. But Tommy Ryan, as you just mentioned, he dropped like a rock at the beginning of this restart. Went from 2nd. He's currently in the 8th position, and he is battling with Daniel Faulkman and Spencer Preet. Actually, he's back to 9th now, just trying to hang on. So we're seeing this early experiment of 2 tires, at least at the moment, does not look like it's going to work. Even though that was just a short run, Brandon, it's definitely not paying off for that number 99 machine, as he's basically back to where he was before he made that call.
That just shows what spinning the tires on this restart box can do for you, as you got freight trained on the inside by pretty much everyone in the top 10 right now, as he's falling down to 11th, or he'll be 10th this time by to the scoring. But right now, I'm still looking at the leaders right now. Daniel Eberhardt is slightly, I mean, just half a thousandth faster than Dylan Jones right now. So these 2 leaders are pretty much dead even right now, 3 laps into this run. And Rodney Wofford took advantage of all that passing and slowing up on the outside line, and he moved up a couple positions, and now he's in 3rd, and he plans on running down the leaders.
Yeah, Rodney Wofford has been coming through this field like a rocket here in the last handful of laps. He started back in the 14th position, and he has worked his way all the way up to 3rd and doing a great job. And I just want to give a shout out to a YouTube user that is watching this tonight. We were told by our producer Cisco Scaramuza that Extreme Plays donated $20 to us tonight. So thank you very much for that donation. We greatly appreciate it, and thank you for tuning in to watch the Full Throttle Cup Series coverage here on LSRTV. It's a great show, and we're glad to have you here. And you see all the incredible racing we've got going on right now, as these guys are starting to get a little spread out in the front of the field, but still a lot of action going on the back half of the top 10. These guys going at it for position, and Tommy Ryan just continues to fall back as he's back to 11th, and he's fallen into the hands of Michael Cozy Jr. and Gabe Wood for 12th and 13th right behind him.
Tommy Ryan has fallen into some bad luck right now as he's getting passed by Cozy Jr. on the inside. Well, maybe not. It looks like Tommy Ryan has finally gotten a little bit of an advantage right now, so looks like he's going to get the advantage for that 11th position as well. Still running that high to middle lane right there in turns 3 and 4 right there, as compared to, it looks like Cozy Jr. and Gabe Wood, both of them running the low lane, and here comes Cozy Jr. again to the inside as well.
And that battle just continues to rage on as these guys go side by side down into 1 and 2, battling for that 11th and 12th position. Cozy's on the bottom. Tommy Ryan is on the outside line, just trying to hang on at this point, and you got to believe he's wanting a caution just so he can get back in and maybe get 4 fresh tires, as he's going to lose that position. And now Gabe Wood will challenge him for position as well to take that 12th position away and move him back into the 13th position. So not really looking good for the number 99 machine at this point, just kind of trying to hang on. But we're going to take a look at our top 5 real quick. Dylan Jones is running up front. Then we have Daniel Eberhardt, Rodney Wofford, Brandon Bowie, and Galen Goodman. These guys are going pretty well. Brandon, this is the top 5 that we expect to see for the rest of this race. The cream has rose to the top, and now you have to believe, as we get inside 50 laps to go, that they're going to be at the front of the field unless they make any mistakes. These are going to be the guys that are going to be shaping up to race for the victory here tonight.
Exactly. As I was saying earlier, pretty much everyone moved through the field who had the fast cars. I mean, Dylan Jones is pulling a Martin Truex Jr. starting 35th, and right now he's leading the race, what Truex did a couple times last year. And what he did on yesterday's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race, he came through the field with a great car, and he stayed up there all day, as the 24 of Nick Silver is going to try and take the inside away from the 94 car of Galen, and it looks like he's going to be able to do that as he takes the inside line away, and he's just going to slide up ever so slightly and take the middle lane away. As we have a caution on the straightaway, on the track, yellow flag is waving. Not sure where that is. We will get to you in a second. See multiple cars on the apron. Looks like Shane Parrish in the number 18 car torn up in 3 and 4 right now. We'll have the replay up for you in a second.
And that was a big wreck going off into turn 3 that Shane Parrish got caught up in. Looks like he might have had a little bit of help to bring out that caution here as well. And unfortunate circumstances for those guys. But now that we have a little bit of a slow in the action, we're going to take a moment to step away and do a little bit of business here on LSR TV. We will be back in just a moment. This is LSR TV, the voice of sim racing. Stay tuned. Welcome back to LSRTV's coverage of the Full Throttle Cup Series presented by English Auto L.L.C. here on LSRTV. We are live and we are about to go back green here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Dylan Jones is in control. The lights are off on the iRacing Mustang, and before we go back green, just want to remind you that coverage of the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series is brought to you by Joe Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. Whether you spend your time on the sim, behind the wheel, or on the pit box from the spotter stand, JRT is the go-to software for iRacing timing and scoring analytics. Get yourself a basic download for free or get the pro version today at joe-real-timing.com. And it's a really cool software. I use it myself just to mess around with it. You can see the strength of field of the official races, and it's really cool to mess with. But pace car is in. We're about to go back green. Dylan Jones is on the loud pedal, and he is down and away. And how about Rodney Walford out on the outside line? Once again, he can't get going. The outside line has struggled all night long, and he gets shuffled 3 wide as they head into 1.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and even more unfortunate is that we have 2 more pit road penalties. One of which was given to Andrew T. Jones, most recently Andrew Amson. Again, just 2 main pit stalls on pit exit, so that makes up 7 drivers now. As we have a huge line of cars aside from your top 3 battle right now. Rodney Walford stuck on the outside, contact, and there goes pretty much everybody right now. Caution is out once again. About 15 cars involved, and goodness, everyone is still piling in. Big wreck on the front straightaway.
Huge wreck to bring out the caution once again, and that took out a mess of cars. Most of the top 10, it looks like, got caught up in that. It started around the 42 machine of David Comstock. He actually started in front of him. I take that back. That started up around the number 94 machine of Galen Gidman coming off the corner. Him and Dwayne Vincent were going at it, and a little bit of contact was made. You're going to see the replay on your screen here, and just a big wreck. We're going to have to figure out how many cars were involved in that, because that was easily 10, 15, maybe more that were caught up in that wreck right there.
I mean, we just came from Daytona, the place where you expect big ones to happen, not Atlanta, but as you see on your screen, I mean, the front straightaway was just blocked like crazy. I mean, you had guys sliding against the wall like Austin Coop, and you had people like Seth the Merchant going through the grass to avoid it, and people losing it in the grass and wrecking some of the guys making it through. So, I mean, we easily had, I counted myself, 16 cars at least sideways or making some sort of contact through that.
And you almost have to wonder if the old saying, cautions breed cautions, if that's what we have here. We had a caution to slow everything down, and we've gotten into the second half of this race, approaching just 40 laps to go. We're at 45 right now, and looks like Dylan Jones is going to come to pit road. That was a bit of a surprise to me, as it looks like everybody behind him stayed out. Maybe 1 or 2 guys elected to come in. Most everybody that's coming in right now looks like they're in for damage, but Dylan Jones electing to come to pit road, that's a very interesting strategy. But back to what I was saying, we're inside the last 50 laps of this race, Brandon. You get to a point where the patience start to run thin, and you know you've got to start trying to make some moves if you want to get yourself in a position to win the race. And unfortunately, when that happens, you start getting more aggressive. Things like this are going to happen, and it just took out a bunch of really fast race cars in the process.
You know, it's hard to really blame that on anyone other than just hard racing, mainly because, like you said, I mean, we're past halfway. We're at a place where you can take a final pit stop and make it to the end of the race, which I highly doubt we're going to see. I think we'll have another wreck because we're averaging about 20 laps in between each caution. But we're at a point where if you're in the back, you have to make up positions. I mean, these tires fall out. We've been talking about that all day. These tires have been falling off tremendously quick. You have to take any position you can at this point, and you have to make the moves, and you have to pass people, especially if you think a caution is going to come out. Say if it comes out in the next 15 laps, you don't lose anything by racing hard and taking down your tires and losing the grip in them, because there's just going to be another caution, then you can just try it again.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, you're starting to run out of time, though. You have the opportunity to come in and get fresh tires, but now you've gotten to the point where you don't really have a lot of time to make up ground. And for Dylan Jones, he pitted from the race lead, and I'm waiting for timing and scoring to update to see exactly where he's going to be. And as he crosses the line, we'll find out here in just a moment. It looks like he's going to go from first back to the 10th position. So he gave up a ton of track position, and I'm not really sure why, unless he just felt like, even though that was only a lap and a half or so, that maybe he needed to come back in and get tires immediately, just to make sure that he had fresh tires to go to the end. That was a very interesting call for the 11 car.
Yeah, quite interesting indeed, but I'm currently showing that he is in 10th right now, and I believe it could be 9th if Yeah, about 15 to 16 cars involved as well. I counted 16 personally, so with at least contact as well. So maybe Dylan has a strategy as well, as he's now showing a 9th position right now, as I believe we will be going green this time by. Lights are out. So Dylan probably has some kind of a strategy. So if he thinks, oh wait, no, caution actually has been extended by race control, but Dylan's got a strategy. Maybe he's thinking that if he pits now for tires, then he can get the advantage on the field early. But look at who's in the lead right now. Brendan Bowie, we got Rodney Wofford in 2nd right now, and Nick Silver is in 3rd.
Yeah, a big night for a couple of those drivers, and we got an official counter, at least what we feel like to be an official count. 15 cars appeared to have been involved in that wreck, and that's a pretty big number of cars here at a 1.5 mile track. That's the type of wreck you'd expect to see at Daytona, like we had last week, or where we were at last week. Not something you'd expect to see here at Atlanta, but it was fresh off of a restart. Everybody was still pretty close together, and unfortunately here at the front stretch, there's not a lot of places to go. You can cut through the grass if you can avoid the wreck, but you also take that chance of losing control of the car and then coming back up and being involved in some mess there to get caught up in it. But to add on to what Gary was talking about, we were 1 to green, and the race control decided they needed an extra lap just to make sure that everything was back in order and ready to go for the restart, to give these guys an opportunity to get bunched back up and get everybody in line where they're supposed to be. We should see the 1 to go this time by, which will get these guys back going, and when we go back green, we'll have exactly 40 laps to go left in this race. So it's officially go time for all of these drivers, and it's time for these guys to figure out what they're going to do. And Brandon Bowie, Brandon, he's been really quick for a short run. 40 laps isn't exactly a short run, but if we keep having little runs like we've had here recently, he could be in the catbird seat here for the end of this thing.
You're speaking my mind right there. I bet Brandon's hoping that all the cars behind him can slow Dylan down, because right now I think Dylan has the car to beat. And as you were saying a few minutes ago, with huge crashes and stuff that you typically see on super speedways and restrictor plates, another thing that you typically see there is Rodney Wofford, a guy who races in the Super Speedway Cup Series here on LSRTV on Friday nights. He's in 2nd place right now, a guy that I wouldn't say he was an underdog, but a lot of people didn't consider him to be one of the top 5 guys at this point in a 1.5 mile race. So it's very awesome to see a guy who typically doesn't do this style of racing running 2nd right now. He got little loose, or majorly loose, last restart, starting on the outside lane. I'm pretty sure he's going to expect that, and I think he'll have a better restart this time.
Well, and how about Spencer Preet? I mean, he won at Daytona, and that's something we expected to do. He's really good on the plate tracks, but he's sitting up there in the 4th position as well, trying to back that win up and show that he can do it on the 1.5 mile tracks too. But we're about to go back green. Pace car is about to duck to the safety of pit road one more time. We hope this might be the final time, and green flag is back out. Brandon Bowie gets on the loud pedal, and once again, that outside line just cannot get going as Bowie and Nick Silver are able to get clear, and Silver is right on the back bumper of that 43 machine as they head down into 1 for the first time.
Bill with the advantage as of right now, and I'm starting to see, well, it's a pretty obvious pattern as that, oh, we have a caution again on the track. Not sure what happened yet. We will get that as soon as possible.
And that looks like there was a wreck in the back half of the field. I didn't quite catch the number of the car that went around, but there was some problems in the back as they were trying to get up through the gears, and unfortunately it just brought out another caution here to bunch these guys back up. And once again, the whole cautions breed cautions mantra, that just seems to be what's going on for these guys. And it's the 17 and the 14 machine I just managed to catch up and see, as we got James Ross and Michael Gorilla caught up in another wreck, and unfortunately it's going to slow things back down once again. And now these cautions are really starting to kind of come together. It changes everything for these drivers, Gary, because they have to start getting out of that mentality of trying to save tires, and now you just have to go for it, because we're running out of time to try to save tires and hope that that's going to work for you. And that's where a guy like Brandon Bowie, who's been doing it all night long, he's going to be in a pretty good spot, because he already knows what to expect out of his car when he takes off and tries to go.
Yeah, and you can see the replay on your screen right there as well. Just seems like a racing incident that the 17 was reacting to a little bit of a checkup, or maybe didn't have a lot of fresh tires. But that 14 was charging as well. But just another thing, it's like you mentioned, tires are pretty much a key thing here as well. And you'll see the onboard from James Ross as well in this number 14, as you can see he just most likely doesn't expect it running his line. Here comes the 17 down to protect, and then there goes the 14. So a little bit of a slip in the wheel as well by mistake. Of course, just a usual racing incident as well, especially with the amount of wear on these tires that we have.
Well, and now that we're getting down to it, the tire wear is not really going to matter to these guys anymore. They're just going to be going out there and driving these cars as hard as they can to try to go for it. And one thing that I want to talk about here, one person I want to talk about that we have not talked about at all so far, Brandon, is David Washington. And he's starting to emerge here in the second half of this race. He started back in 36th. He's in 11th right now. But for a guy that was so dominant on the mile-and-a-half tracks last year, this is not the performance I expected out of that number 98 machine. I don't think he's been inside the top 10 yet in this race. And he's right on the outside right now. Is he in a position where maybe he can still make something happen and maybe make some noise and be a sleeper in this thing, which is surprising to even have to say that he'd be a sleeper?
It's certainly possible. I mean, he's David Washington, a guy who dominates miles and a half. I mean, last time we talked about him, he was running 28th in our mid-race break. And I think what he needs is, I wouldn't say more cautions, because no one wants more wrecks, but I mean, it certainly helps him out. One thing that I think caused that wreck was we had a couple cars get really sideways on the restart. That wasn't necessarily the leaders, like Seth the Merchant. He was starting 6th and he got really sideways. He kind of checked the outside lineup, and at the same time, Sean Castro in the 67 also got sideways there. So I think that wreck was more of an accordion effect, and if things continue to play out like that, David Washington certainly has a chance.
Absolutely, and he's definitely one of those guys that, like I said, you just would not expect him to be in this position, but he's in that position right now and just has not been able to really get anything going for that number 98 machine here tonight. And if I remember correctly, he won this race last season too, so he definitely wants to have a good showing here tonight to be able to prove that he's still got the speed in that car and can contend for wins and contend for a championship when it's all said and done. But while we have a slow in the action, just want to remind everybody that we couldn't do this if it weren't for iRacing. And iRacing is the world premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, and many more sanctions of racing. These guys also have the Global Rallycross that we just started, and thanks to those guys from GRC, you can sign up with a new membership for just $5 for a 3-month membership. That that code is PR-GRC, and once again, that is for new members only. You can get a 3-month subscription for just $5, and I don't think I need to tell anybody that the Global Rallycross is a lot of fun. I know I've gotten to mess with it quite a bit. I'm sure Gary and Brandon, you guys have messed with it. It's a blast to do, and if you don't know what you've gotten into or what you are missing, you need to check it out because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really exciting as well. Of course, if you haven't seen the videos on iRacing's YouTube channel as well, go check it out because it is the promo videos those guys make are definitely amazing. And unfortunately, though, something that is not amazing, Lionel Callisto has gotten an EWA penalty, 2 many pit stalls in exit once again. So that's your 8th driver of the night. Again, just really unfortunate as the lights are on. We're half a lap to green. Well, more like half a lap at 65 miles an hour to green, I should say. But nonetheless, again, it's just something that these guys will have to get used to on pit exit.
And now you're at that point where you cannot afford to have a penalty because with less than 40 laps to go, at 35 laps to go, you don't have the time to work your way back up through this field. And we still have 33 cars on the lead lap. So when you get that penalty, especially if you're Lionel Callisto, who is running up inside the top 15, now you're going to be going back to potentially as far back as 33rd. That's not what you want to see at this point of the race. But we're about to go back green once again here at Atlanta. Brandon Bowie, Nick Silver on the front row, Rodney Wofford on the back. 3rd position, and then Spencer Preet won last week at Daytona. That's your top 4. Green flag is out. This time, look at that. The outside line actually got a decent restart. Nick Silver was able to get through the gears, and he's able to hold on to that 2nd position. Now, as they get to turn 1, though, Rodney Wofford is able to get to his inside, and they are going to battle side by side for that 2nd and 3rd position as they come off turn 2.
That time by Rodney Wofford was trying to show Nick Silver that he was there as he's doing the same thing to Spencer Preet. Nick Silver trying to push Rodney Wofford down a little bit to mess his lineup, and we have another wreck down the back straightaway. Yellow flag waves again here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
And that was the 13 of Dwayne Vincent coming off the corner. He was trying to get off the corner, and it looks like somebody actually got loose in front of him, and a guy got into him coming off the corner to kick him around and send him into the inside wall. Heavy contact for the 13 machine, and it looks like that might have been I can't tell the number on the side of that car, but he got contact from the 28 machine. There we go. Finally got the number right. 28 machine of Scott Walter is the car that made contact with the 13 of Dwayne Vincent, send him around. But right in front of them, there was a car that got really sideways coming off the corner as well. That was the number 19 machine of Eric Stanford. I thought he was going to go around. I saw that happening, and I waited to see if it was going to actually happen, and somehow he managed to keep that car pointed in the right direction. But unfortunately for Dwayne Vincent, his night is over as he has already left the server, and he is out of this thing for the night.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for Dwayne Vincent, and just unfortunate to have his night end that early. But also in the back, the number 8 of Kyle Kemmer also got into the wall. Looks like he ran a little bit too high, but replay on your screen here from, I believe what will be the onboard of the number 28. Honestly not sure, just another driver in the back as well. But nonetheless, Dwayne Vincent unfortunately is definitely out of this race. So we're just going to have to stack them up once again, restart, and see what we can do this time.
Yeah, absolutely, and we have a black flag, it looks like, here for Lionel Kalisto. His night just went from bad to worse. He had that penalty for driving through too many pit stalls on exit of pit road. Well, he also just got busted for jumping that most recent restart. He's going to get a black flag, and I believe that will be a black flag under green. I believe he's going to have to serve a penalty where he's going to have to do a stop and go. We'll have to confirm that with race control here in just a moment, but I believe that is the penalty for making that move. So unfortunate for that number 97 machine, Brandon. He just cannot seem to catch a break here tonight, and for this one, this was a little bit of self-induced problems for him.
It's just one of those nights. You think that stuff would come at Daytona, but sometimes it sneaks up on you at Atlanta. I was looking at some of the guys pitting that time by. Taby Comstock in the number 2 in the 42 car took 4 tires. Andrew Jones took 4, and Michael took 4. So some of the guys in the back going to have way fresher tires than some of the guys in the front right now. I honestly expected the 43 car to and he is gonna, no, it looked like he was faking it. I thought we'd see more of the leaders come by or go into pit road just because they've been on these tires for close to 20 laps. I know it's been under caution, and a lot of people are under the assumption that, I mean, if you're saving at least like 2 gallons of, or 2 laps of fuel under caution, you're saving tires a lot. But I mean, going from a restart to cooling down your tires to warming your tires back up, I mean, that hurts the tires just as much as staying green the whole time. So I'm very curious to see how these guys are going to handle this.
I think a lot of it at this point has become track position. We're down to just 31 laps to go left in this race, and like we saw with Dylan Jones, you know, he pitted out of the race lead. He fell back to a 10th position. He's only back up to 7th, and if we keep having caution after caution after caution, it's going to be very difficult for him to get back to the race lead, and or at least be able to get to a spot where he can contend for the race lead. And at this point, knowing how this race looks like it's going to go, you almost don't want to take that chance of coming to pit road and being the only guy that comes to pit road. So I see what you're saying as far as the tire strategy. You want to come in, you want to get those fresh tires, but at the same time, you don't really want to give up that track position because you just don't know what's going to happen, and you could end up being caught up in one of the wrecks. We saw the big wreck happen just a couple of laps ago that started on the back half of the top 10 and took out 15 cars. If you're at the front of the field, you can't get involved in anything.
Yeah, it all comes down to track position and how much you conserve your tires. Right now, it's either conserve or just go for the win. But Lionel Kalisto, again, is still going. Oh my goodness, this is even worse. He's gotten an AOL penalty for another pit entry violation, but this time it's too many pit stalls on pit entry, not pit exit. So his night just went from worse to, well, I don't even know if there is a synonym for worse, but unfortunate for Lionel Kalisto as he's just not having the best of luck in these last few laps.
And it's just one of those nights, man, and a lot of this just comes from the frustration of things starting to go wrong. He got caught up in a little bit of issues. He's had a couple of penalties, and as a driver, I can feel his pain here. Once you start making mistakes, or once you start getting caught up in other people's mistakes, it's very easy for you to get frustrated behind the wheel and just start making more mistakes than you would even ever make in the first place if you didn't have that one mistake to kick everything off. So it's just one of those deals. He's going to have to kind of get his head back in it, regroup. At this point, I think I would just take a moment, take a deep breath, and just kind of get myself situated. Tonight's not going to be my night, but I have more opportunities coming next week at Las Vegas and down the stretch as well. So definitely something he needs to focus on. But here we are. We're about to go back green. Hopefully we can make it more than a lap this time. Pace car is about to duck back to the safety of pit road. Brandon Bowie still in control. This time Rodney Wofford's on the outside. Nick Silver's on the bottom in third. And here we go. Green flag. And the outside line cannot get going as Rodney Wofford spins the tires. Nick Silver will move into that second position now as they get into turn one for the first time. Single file through the top three positions, and now it's side by side between Seth DeMerchant and Spencer Preet for off turn two.
Rodney Wofford was trying to make that outside work as he goes to the bottom this time by down the back straightaway. He's going to give him a little look down the bottom of Nick Silver. Nick Silver's going to just give it to him, and well, it's not just giving it to him. He's going to give him the lane as Nick Silver is going to be stuck on the bottom or on the top as Spencer Preet's going to try and do what Rodney Wofford just did and take the inside away from him as they enter turn one.
Here comes Dylan Jones on the outside. He passes Spencer Preet. That's going to move him up into the fifth position. He's on the outside down in 1 and 2, trying to get a big run off the corner. Can he get the run to get clear of the 57 and get to the inside of the 37 as they work down into turn 3? The answer is no. He was not able to do it. And here comes Daniel Eberhardt right behind him, running a higher groove than the 11 machine, trying to make something happen as well as he's battling side by side with the 57 machine of Seth DeMerchant as they come to the start-finish line.
He's gone to the outside DeMerchant, and a caution flag, but this time it was thrown by Race Control. A crash on the back straightaway, however. A 64 of Andrew Jones, one of the causes for that as well, and apparently 3 other drivers involved. Along with that, the number 28 and the 59.
Yeah, they were 3 wide on the backstretch, and it looks like the guy in the middle, Andrew Jones, just kind of came together with a 59 machine of Chris Gillum, and it just sent them around, and Race Control felt as if that was deserving of a caution because there were more than 2 race cars turned sideways on the backstretch on the racing surface. iRacing's service itself did not trigger the caution, but they felt as if that needed to be a yellow flag. So we're going to be back under the yellow flag here once again, and that's going to give these guys another opportunity to get bunched back up and make them have to really think through. We're down to just 26 laps to go left in this race, and now, if you're Brandon Bowie, you've got to feel pretty good about this. You've been out in front for a while. Now that we've had multiple restarts where we're not really getting anywhere, I don't think you're going to see too many guys come to pit road to give up track position at this point. So you've got to feel pretty good if you're that 43 machine.
As you say that, I was looking at how the 42 was doing on that short run since he took 4 tires. David actually gained 6 positions on that very short run. So, I mean, the advantage is there. If you take it, you're obviously going to be faster. It just depends on how often these cautions come out. I mean, we have close to 25 laps to go in this 125-lap race, so it's go time, and you can't afford to have any more speeding penalties or any more problems entering pit road. As I say that, Spencer Preet made slight contact with Nick Silver entering pit lane, but this is the money pit stop. If we go green, you need to have a perfect pit stop. You can't leave too many pit boxes. You can't slide through them. As your leader, Brandon Bowie, is going to take 4 tires, as I suspect the whole rest of the field, as we have David in the 42 coming back down pit road, and I can't wait to see the run off of pit road.
And these guys are going to make me eat my words because I did not expect to see anybody on pit road for this point of the race. I figured everybody would be staying on the racetrack, and that's not going to be the case at all. And it looks like Brandon Bowie is going to easily win that race off of pit road. Then we have Dylan Jones coming out in second, and then we have a dogfight for the rest of the positions. We're going to have to give them a second to sort it out themselves. I believe Shane Ewing will come out third, then Nick Silver, and then from there I really have no idea because they were so close coming off of pit road. So let them figure that out, and then we'll sort through that in just a moment. But this was a surprising call for me. I did not expect these guys to come to pit road. I really believe that they'd stay out, but it didn't really affect anybody because everybody came to pit road. So we're going to have everybody in the top 15, top 20 on fresh tires for this dogfight coming to the end with just 25 laps to go left in this race.
Well, you did say, Brian, that there's just a huge mass of cars coming off of pit road. Well, I can tell you that it was obviously Brandon Bowie coming out first, and then we had the 11 of Dylan Jones, the 32 of Shane Ewing, the 3 of Rodney Wofford, and then we had the number 24 of Nick Silver, the 90 of Daniel Eberhardt, the 57 of Seth DeMerchant, 42 of David Comstock, and then just, again, like you said, just pretty much a dogfight coming out of pit road there. So pretty much with all that just huge massive cars, we pretty much just have our top 10, if you will. I believe some drivers did stay out, but I believe they would be just for extra positions. Hopefully AJ Browning and Kyle Cameron shown in first and second right now as well.
And I was actually just getting ready to bring that up. Those two drivers did elect to stay out. There is some damage on those cars, so I'm not sure if they're just staying out and then going to come to pit road before we go back green, or if they actually intend on being up there. We'll have to wait and see what these two decide to do. But right now they are scored in first and second, and they would be out there on a little bit older tires, which does change the complexion of the restart should they stay on the racing surface, Brandon, because now you're going to have two guys that we really haven't talked about all night long restarting at the front of the field if they elect to stay on the racetrack. If you're Brandon Bowie, if you're Dylan Jones, how does that change what you're going to do on this restart? You already know on the outside line, especially if you're Dylan Jones restarting behind the guy in second, that's not going to be to your favor. But if you're Brandon Bowie, this gives you a pretty big opportunity to maybe try to gap that 11 car if you can get going on the inside line and get away from them.
It certainly does. One thing that the two guys in front right now, Kyle and AJ, have on a disadvantage is, one, they have old tires, and two, that they have an aerodynamic disability right now with damage on both of their front ends. One thing that I'm looking through right now is, I mean, you have Brandon, you have Dylan, you have Rodney Wofford, but almost everyone in the top 10 right now has some sort of damage on their car, whether it be on the front end or on the spoiler or anywhere. So that's another thing we have to think about. Some guys are just going to be quicker just because they don't have to deal with any damage.
I want to bring up one little point about Brandon Bowie from last year. He went the entire season without a victory until the season finale race at Homestead. Went and won that race in the season finale, got his first and only win of the season. Now he's in position to try to get his first win of the season in just the second race of this year. I hope I didn't jinx him by bringing that up, because I'd like to see him get the job done, but just a big change for this 43 machine, and potentially a big momentum boost for him if he can get the job done here tonight. But he's going to have to get through this restart cleanly. He's got two guys in front of him that are on older tires with slightly damaged race cars in AJ Browning and Kyle Kamer, starting on that front row. The lights are off on the pace car. We're about to go back to green flag racing as soon as the pace car pulls to the safety of pit road, and he does right there. And now AJ Browning is in control. He gets to wait for the green flag, and he is down and away. And here we go. Outside line did not get going. Bowie is able to get clear of the 8, and Dylan Jones gets held up as he cannot go anywhere. He's trapped behind the 8 machine. That is huge for the 11 car as he gets back. He's falling back and losing a couple of spots, and now battle is on for the race lead as here comes Brandon Bowie taking the lead away from AJ Browning down the backstretch.
Dylan Jones is at a complete disadvantage as of right now. He got shuffled back. All that progress, well, he still has it right now. He's only lost one position. Now he's back up to 4th as being shown by JRT, and he does get by that number 32 Shane Ewing. So meanwhile, big massive cars just battling out side by side in the back as well. But nonetheless, a move for second place, it looks like. Well, never mind, actually. That's AJ Brown getting passed on the inside. Or, sorry, AJ Brown is getting passed on the outside right now. He's going to fall in front. No, he's not, as Shane Ewing is going to beat him to the outside and close out that lane as well. Rodney Wofford sliding a little bit up as well. Could be 3 wide after number 4, and it will be.
3 wide off turn 4, a gaggle of cars battling for position. AJ Browning is on those older tires and unfortunately is in the way of all of these guys on the newer tires, and he's just trying to hang on and not get caught up in anything while this is going on. He's just trying to stay out of the way at this point, but he has fallen back to it looks like the 6th position right now, and he's in the middle 3 wide once again as Nick Silver goes to the bottom, and I believe that was David Washington on the outside as well. And now here comes David Comstock on the bottom of the racetrack trying to make his way through. These guys still going at it, and AJ Browning just continues to drop back. And while all that's going on, a nice little battle is going on for the 4th and 5th position as Rodney Wofford and Shane Ewing are going at it for those 2 spots.
Right now, a battle that's probably going to happen either in this corner or in the next lap will be between Daniel Ebenhart and Brandon Bowie. Right now, Daniel Ebenhart moving down to the bottom lane, trying to get by that white line, trying to get under Brandon right now as they come in turn 4. Can he get there? I don't think he's going to. He's going to barely be right behind him as they exit turn 4, and Brandon's going to lead another lap.
The fastest car on the long run now has to figure out how to be the fastest car on the short run. Daniel Eberhardt has had long run speed all night long, but now we're inside of 20 laps to go. You can't wait for that long run speed to come to you, and caution is out here at Atlanta once again. Didn't quite see what the caution was for. Here it is, Galen Gidman in the number 94 machine got turned around on the front stretch. Looks like he got, actually that started in front of him, as it looks like the 9 of Randy Yoakum was way off the pace, and he had nowhere to go and got into the back of that number 9 machine, and unfortunately that's what's going to cause that caution and bunch these guys back up. And now it's decision time for all of these drivers. Do you stay on the racetrack with less than 20 to go, or do you come back to pit road and go for tires? At this point, Gary, which was more important, track position or fresh tires?
Well, that depends on how many laps are left, and of course we are just about at, well, it's 18 laps to go. I mean, you did just come off a pit stop as well, just probably less than about 5 laps ago, so I'd say at least stay out for the first lap, see what happens, see who pits, and I'll make a decision there. But personally, if you want to make it right on the first lap, stay out and keep that track position as well, because, well, I mean, again, just about 5 laps on these tires, probably not even 5 laps, and we're going to find out what these guys do as right now. And, well, here they come to pit road. They're not taking any chances. Oh, wait, Rodney Wofford stays out.
Rodney Wofford elects to stay on the racetrack. Looks like everybody else is on pit road, and now this could be the money stop. Very well could be the final stop of the race for all of these drivers. Brandon Bowie, Daniel Eberhardt, Dylan Jones need to have a clean stop. Can't go through too many pit boxes if you don't want to have a penalty, and it looks like the 43 gets into his box cleanly. I believe Eberhardt got into his box cleanly as well. Dylan Jones as well. So now the question becomes, do you do 2? Do you do 4? And it looks like everybody's going to go for those 4 fresh tires. Not really surprised at that at all. Dylan Jones is actually going to win or beat Brandon Bowie off of pit road, and now we got a nice little battle. And how about the 37 of Spencer Preet? He's going to be the first guy off of pit road, as he was able to get out in front of all of those drivers, and I believe every single one of them took 4 tires. But man, a heartbreaker for Brandon Bowie, because he's going to go from the race lead, it looks like maybe back as far as 5th position, based on the fact that we have a driver that stayed out, and he's fallen back behind at least 4 cars after that.
A total mix-up from what we've been seeing this entire race. We have new players in it, and we have less than 20 to go. I mean, this is just shaping up to be a wild finish. I mean, the last 3 restarts have been insane, with guys staying out on old tires or taking 2 tires, and I mean, the place you're going to want to look on this restart is going to be whoever's starting second on the outside lane, and maybe who's starting 4th, only because that outside lane is at such a disadvantage. They risk just stacking up the entire outside lane.
And you're absolutely right about that. But the one thing that's going to play a factor in this is we do have Rodney Wofford, who's out there on slightly used tires. He's not on old tires, but these are still tires that have been heated up and ran for a couple of laps. And now he's going to be the race leader. So we could see a little bit of tire spin for him as well. And we have a couple other drivers that elected to stay out with him. The 17 of Michael Gorilla stayed out, and Seth DeMerchant in that 57 machine stayed out as well. So those 3 drivers all on older tires, and they're going to be in front of a bunch of guys that are going to be on fresh tires that are going to be extremely aggressive. The first guy out on fresh tires is the 37 of Spencer Preet. He wants to make it back-to-back wins here to kick off the 2018 campaign. 1 last week at Daytona. Would love to get 2 in a row to start this season on a really high note. And as if we couldn't have more penalties for Lionel Kalisto, we just did get one, as he's going to have another penalty for driving through too many pit stalls on exit of pit road. So just another issue for a really rough night for that number 97 machine to add to his frustrations. But here we go, Gary. Who's going to have the advantage at this point? We've got Spencer Preet as the first guy on fresh tires, but he's going to be restarting in the second row on the outside line. And we've seen all night long, as Brandon just mentioned, the outside line just does not get going. I have to believe that Daniel Eberhardt might be in the best spot, sitting back there in 5th. He'll be 3rd in line on the inside line and have a pretty good shot on this restart.
Well, Daniel Eberhardt did lead 47 laps in the beginning of this race as well, so as the lights go out on the pace car, he is starting on the inside lane, so he is at an advantage as well. So if he can get the perfect start and get the passes as quick as possible, then he'll probably be back in the lead at this race, especially since you see the 17. Well, he's on the outside, and we all know how that went the last caution with a damaged vehicle starting on a certain lane, but this is going to be even worse because Michael is starting on the outside lane in that 17. He's damaged, and, well, the outside lane has been having enough problems as it is. They haven't been able to get going pretty much this entire race. So this is going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. And just about, what, 15 laps ago? 14 laps when we hit the green, actually.
I know one thing, if I'm Rodney Walford, the 17 and the 57 have just become my best friends because they have given me a little bit of a buffer over the guys that are on fresher tires. I at least get the restart and possibly through 1 and 2 before I even have to think about those guys on fresh tires because I have that little bit of a buffer before they can even get to me. And we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But here we go. Pace car is about to duck to the safety of pit road one more time. Rodney Walford is the race leader. Can he get it done? We have 14 laps to go at the stripe, and green flag is back out. Walford gets up through the gears, and a great restart from Michael Gorilla on the outside line as he's able to almost stay even with that 3 car, but now Walford's able to get away, and here comes Seth DeMerchant for third, and now everybody's trying to work their way past lap traffic. The 17 gets shot way up the track as he was holding guys up, and he's going to get shuffled out, and now the battle is on for second as we have a big wreck coming off of turn 2, a multi-car wreck that started around the 1 car of Daniel Falkman, and we are back under caution here at Atlanta.
Huge wreck, although it didn't have any implications on the leaders. Pretty much everyone already had their positions other than Seth DeMerchant and Daniel Eberhardt, who were going to contend for second place entering turn 3. But huge crash between the guys racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a huge wreck right there to take out many cars in the back of the field, and it looks like there was easily 10 cars, maybe more, caught up in that. A lot of cars already had damage anyway, but just one of those deals where everybody's fighting for position, and now we've gotten to that point of the race where you don't have any time at all, and I see Austin Coop got a piece of that. It looks like a handful more, just some completely destroyed race cars, and unfortunate for all of those guys. But one guy that I think that really saves is Rodney Walford in the 3 car, because he was getting ready to be under some serious pressure from the number 90 machine of Daniel Eberhardt, because Dan got a great restart. He was able to get clear of that 17. He was to the inside of Seth DeMerchant and was going to be ready to pounce on that 3 car as quickly as possible if that green flag stayed out any longer.
Yeah, but now we're back under caution, and of course, unfortunately, just a few technical problems with our video, which should be back up in hopefully just a few moments as well, and it definitely will be. But here's the thing, Daniel Eberhardt is now in 3rd place, so well, now Seth DeMerchant is going to be starting on the outside lane, so Rodney Walford now has to worry about Daniel Eberhardt. And of course, Spencer Preet may be also on the outside, but Dylan Jones is still in 5th. He hasn't been back up to the top 4, let alone the top 3 ever since, well, pretty much these pit stops had started happening and these cautions, and he was just stuck at a disadvantage every time the caution came out. And we're just coming to 10 laps to go in just a few moments as well, or should I say 11 laps to go. I believe we'll be taking the green with 10 to go. So this is shaping up to be an interesting shootout as well.
Indeed it is, and Rodney Walford would like to see a few more cautions, because that would definitely play into him being able to survive this thing and not have any major issues at all. So definitely would help him out a ton. But for Daniel Eberhardt, like you just said, he's in a great position. He's restarting in 3rd. He's got fresher tires. You've got to believe if he can get going on the restart that he's going to be in a pretty good spot to be able to jump on that 3 car right away. But the problem is if we get another quick caution, he's not going to have a lot of time to do it with, and we've gotten down to that point where I believe we can only get one more caution and restart in before we would not even get to go back green at all. So definitely beginning to run out of time for all of these guys. But I agree. I think Daniel Eberhardt's in a great position here. He's going to have the fresher tires and the opportunity to challenge. And Rodney Walford is just going to have to go out there and drive the wheels off that car if he wants to get the victory.
Yeah, I believe we're going to have an 8-lap shootout at the end of this caution. If we have a wreck on 5 or less laps to go, we run the possibility of ending under yellow, and if we have a wreck under 4 laps to go, it does end under yellow. So Rodney Walford has older tires, but he has a caution to his advantage. So if the field wrecks again like they did this previous time, he could end up winning this race. And Seth DeMerchant, a guy who started on the outside lane before, or actually a lot in this race, he knows what to expect. He knows what he's experienced getting loose and slick on the restart, spinning the tires. So I doubt that we'll see him do that again. Spencer Preet, a guy who's seemed to have started on the outside the last 4 restarts. He knows what he's doing up there. I don't think we're going to have a checkup on the outside lane, at least for the top 6 positions right now.
Well, the one thing we have seen all night long is the outside line has just not been able to get going, at least in the front row. It seems like there's a major disadvantage to being the car starting in second place here on the restart. And we saw that in the Monster Energy Cup Series as well, and pretty much all weekend, actually, that the outside line just was not the place to be. And unfortunately for Seth DeMerchant and for Spencer Preet, that's exactly where they're going to be when we go back green. We're going to be inside 10 laps to go. We're going to have 8 laps to go when we go back green this time by. Rodney Walford will be the race leader, and then Seth DeMerchant second. Daniel Eberhardt is third. Spencer Preet will be fourth. Then we have Dylan Jones in fifth, and then Brandon Bowie is sixth. David Washington finally up inside the top 10. He's up to seventh. Then David Comstock is in eighth. Tommy Ryan, our pole sitter, is ninth, and Nick Silver is 10th. And here we go. Gary, real quick, what's your prediction on this next restart? What's going to happen?
Hopefully an amazing green flag run because, well, I was 1 lap off, unfortunately. We're coming back to green with 9 laps to go, but I'm going to say that Rodney Walford gets the amazing start. Daniel Eberhardt takes advantage of the outside lane, getting that disadvantage of, well, just being the outside lane.
And I apologize for my Jacob Seelman math. I'm just not very good with numbers, unfortunately, and I had to do a little bit of a throwback to one of our longtime members of LSRTV, Jacob Seelman. So I'm sure he's listening and probably is going to kick me for that when he sees me. But here we go. Green flag's about to come back out. Pace car is about to duck to the safety of pit road. 9 laps of racing left here at Atlanta. Can Rodney Walford get it done? We're about to find out. Green flag is in the air, and here we go. 9 laps of action, and here comes Daniel Eberhardt. It's a great restart right off the bat. Had to check up a little bit because he cannot pass before the start finish line, but here he comes now as they are single file for first and second through 1 and 2, and those fresh tires are going to pounce. He's right on the back bumper and now looks to the inside as they come off turn 2 for the lead.
Right now, the battle is for 5th and 2nd right now. Ebenhart trying to get on the bottom of Rodney Walford, and Seth DeMerchant's going to give him a little bump and let them know that he's right there behind him as they're going to be side by side out of turn 4. It's going to be a drag race down the front straightaway for who's going to lead this lap. It's going to be Daniel Ebenhart by about half a car length as Seth DeMerchant is going to be holding off Brandon Bew and Spencer Preet as Spencer Preet goes to the bottom lane in 1 and 2. It's going to be 3 wide for second place with Spencer, Brandon, and Seth DeMerchant gaining on Rodney Walford as they're going to get close. Seth DeMerchant makes contact with Brandon as they go down the back straightaway, and Rodney's going to go to the bottom of the track to slow Brandon and Seth down. But right now, Daniel Ebenhart getting a 4 or 5 car length lead as we're 3 wide for second place again. Brandon on the inside, Rodney in the middle, Seth on the outside. It's going to be Brandon by a car, half a car length leading that, or having second place there, as it's just a huge jumble of cars for second place right now.
Incredible racing going on inside the top 10, but Daniel Eberhart is loving it right now as he has gotten out to about a 5 car length advantage, and he's trying to pull away. And now here comes Seth DeMerchant to the inside of Brandon Bowie for second as he got a great run coming off of turn 2 that allowed him to get there, but Bowie is going to carry the momentum off the corner and looks like he might be able to get clear of that 57 machine, and he will not actually as DeMerchant stays with him. And now Bowie finally gets clear, and here comes Dylan Jones in the 11 machine trying to look for that 3rd position as well. But it is smooth sailing for the number 90 machine as he has over a half a second advantage over these guys, and Brandon Bowie is trying to do everything he can to run him down. Coming to 6 laps to go, 5 laps to go actually at the stripe this time by, and Dylan Jones just had a big moment coming off of turn 2, and he's going to lose a ton of track position because of it.
Dylan Jones had an amazing save, but that shuffles Rodney Walford back even more. So unfortunately for Walford, as he gets into the wall after turn number 4, luckily keeps it straight. No one makes any contact. Goodness gracious, amazing racing here. As well, Dylan Jones is actually still going. He's in the top 5, and caution is out. As you see right there on your screen, that is the race. That's Shane Ewing right there. And Daniel Eberhart will walk away with the win with a caution coming out with 5 laps to go. Number 32, the cause of that. And Rodney Walford also involved in it, I believe, as well. So unfortunate for Rodney Walford as the replay is coming up on your screen right now. So we're going to see. It looks like it started again, just coming up out of turn number 4. So I thought they were going to make it, but unfortunately they didn't. We're going to find out Rodney Walford almost, he makes contact with Shane as well. It looks like Shane was going to move up and use the middle lane entering turn number 1. An unfortunate accident for Rodney Walford, so that's going to shoot him way down the order as compared to about 5 laps ago when we were just restarting.
And And that was a result of some really incredible racing for a good 5 laps right there. The entire top 10 you could have thrown a blanket over, because they were racing 2, 3, and almost 4 wide at times, trying to get everything they could in the closing stages of this race. And what an incredible show these guys just gave. And for everybody that's sitting at home watching this race, that might end up being one of the best 5-lap segments we have ever seen here on LSRTV, because those guys were going at it like it was the last lap. And it was so much fun to watch and so much fun to get to call. And how about Daniel Eberhardt? I believe this race is over. I'm with Gary in saying that I think we hit that point of the race where they're not going to go back green. There is that potential we could get that 1-lap shootout. We'll know the next time they come around. If the lights go off on the pace car, that means we'll have a 1-lap shootout. If they do not, that means this thing will be over. And I'm pretty confident in saying that this thing is over. And what a run for the number 90 machine, and what a rebound for him, because he lost some track position in the middle part of this race and had to fight pretty hard to get back to it. And Brandon, when the time was right, he was right where he needed to be, and he's in front when it looks like he's going to come away with a victory.
Eberhardt had the one thing we all want as racers, and that's 2nd through 5th place racing 3 wide. So he was able to gain that lead. I don't think they could have caught him if it would have stayed green. I mean, it didn't, but he had close to a 10-car length lead on 2nd place. So that was a tremendous move by Eberhardt and tremendous racing by the top 10 in the field there. That was absolutely insane. I don't know how they didn't wreck sooner.
It was amazing, to say the least. It was just one of those things that you don't expect to see, but when it happens, you're completely in awe. And how about Brandon Bowie fighting his way through that? He restarted back in the 6th position, and he's in 2nd right now. I mean, he did a great job staying out of trouble, getting through that, and not getting caught up in anything. And it was just one of those deals, and unfortunately it looks like he's going to come up just short of a victory here tonight, and we're about to find out here in just a moment as the pace car crosses the line and the lights stay on. So this race is official, and Daniel Eberhardt, as long as he can coast around under caution here for a couple more laps, will come away with his first victory of the 2018 campaign, and is going to start his season off in a very big way to get that victory. But you got to feel for Brandon Bowie, because he tried so hard and led a big portion of the second half of this race, Gary, and was running down Daniel Eberhardt when that caution came out. He had cut the gap down from 0.7 of a second down to just a half a second, and I believe if the caution did not come out, he might have had a shot to at least get to the 90 machine. I'm not going to say he could have passed him, but he definitely could have gave him a run for the money.
Yeah, it's a tough break for Brandon Bowie, but definitely going to be amazing for Daniel Eberhardt, as he has led the most laps, now 54 laps led, I believe 56 once we finish the race. But coming into this race, Daniel Eberhardt is 3rd in points with 35 points. So I believe with the win, and along with the most laps led in this race, as well the second one, pretty much great placement by Brandon Bowie as well. He's going to be 2nd. With the 30 amount of laps led will be 37. So again, just a tough break for Brandon Bowie, but he did an amazing job at getting up there and cutting down that time while he still had the chance, as we're coming to the white flag.
White flag here at Atlanta. They just got to coast around for one more lap, and Daniel Eberhardt will be your winner here tonight. It'll be his first win of the 2018 campaign. And one thing, you were talking about bonus points, and I'm not sure how many drivers are actually going to come away with it here tonight, but it's something new that we're doing this season here in the Full Throttle Cup Series is if you can get through a race incident-free, you get a bonus point to go towards your total points for the race. And for a couple of these drivers up inside the top 10, I think they're going to come away with it. I'm pretty sure that our top 2, maybe our top 3 will definitely come away with it. But there's a lot of drivers in this race tonight that were caught up in some wrecks and certainly have some incident points that are going to keep them from getting those bonus points. But that's a cool little incentive to try to keep your car in one piece and stay out of trouble to get that bonus point. And you just never know. That one bonus point could be the difference in you having a shot to win the championship and you being on the outside looking in. If you can get a bonus point per race, that in total could be 35, 36 bonus points. So definitely something these guys need to try to fight for throughout the season, because that ends up being a lot of points. That's essentially like finishing inside the top 5. If you can get 1 point per race and do it every single race throughout the season, that would be like getting a top 5 finish added to your total points for the year. So definitely something these guys need to pay attention to. But here we come off of turn 4, and for Daniel Eberhardt, he's going to celebrate his first victory of the 2018 campaign here in the Full Throttle Cup Series presented by English Auto LLC. Daniel Eberhardt is a first-time winner here this season at Atlanta. And what an incredible run it was for him. And as everything gets situated, we're going to talk to our winner and the other drivers that finished inside the top 3 in just a moment. We're going to step away and do a little bit of business, and then we will catch up with those top 3 runners here in just a moment. This is LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. Stay tuned.
I actually, really enjoy dirt racing. Feels good to get in the car, and we have, great cars and engines and things at KKR, so it's nice to drive a fast sprint car.
Couple of separate lines developing, 3 wide action on a turn 2. Craig Kitzer, Casey Kane, and Garrett Pittman going at it.
I think the differences between, NASCAR and the sprint races on dirt is just a much different mindset. The way you drive your cars, the setup, the feel you're looking for. I think one of the hardest things to tell as a fan is when you're watching a race, whether it's a NASCAR race, a dirt race, is just what's really going on in the car. With iRacing, you can get the way that the track's changing, which they've done a great job in how the track changes throughout the night or throughout the race, just to try to capture it and let the fans play it and realize, like, man, there's actually a lot going on, and you can't always see that when you watch a race. So I think it's pretty neat. It's, enjoyable for me, but at the end of the day, it's actually much of a simulation, and there's a lot of ways that you can learn from that. And early on, it was neat to look at the Cup tracks that I was going to, places that I had never been. So I think it kind of gives you a head start leading into a weekend. It's pretty real life, and that's pretty neat.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV, and it may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.
Welcome back to tonight's coverage of the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, powered by English Auto LLC, live here on LSR TV. We just concluded an incredible race here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and it was a race that saw Daniel Eberhardt come away with the victory here tonight. We're going to speak with him in just a moment, but before we do that, we're going to run through the full field rundown here at Atlanta. And as I just mentioned, Daniel Eberhardt was your race winner here tonight, and he comes away with a big victory. Brandon Bowie will come home in that second position, came so close to getting his first victory of the season, but he's going to have to wait another week to have a shot at doing that. Seth DeMerchant will come home in third, and then how about Spencer Preet? He won last week at Daytona. He's going to back that run up with a 4th place finish here tonight at Atlanta. Dylan Jones will finish in 5th. Then we have Nick Silver running in 6th. David Washington will come home in the 7th position after starting all the way back in 36th, so great rebound for that number 98 machine. David Comstock will come home in 8th. Michael Cozy Jr. will come home 9th, and then Tommy Ryan will finish 10th.
Finishing 11th will be the number 89 of Jeff Ward. Chris Hurlow finishes in the 12th position. Sean Casto finishes 13th. Eric Stanford 39th to finish in 14th. AJ Browning finishes 15th in that number 20. Finishing 16th will be Andrew Jones. 17th will be Michael Guerrilla. 18th will be Travis Brown, 19th Drew Adamson, and finishing the top 20 is going to be James Ross.
That was your top 20. Your top 30 begins with Brian Trambris, Mike Taylor, Daniel Fountainham. Randy Yoakum is going to be 24th. Brandon Whitetaker is going to be 25th. Shane Eyre is going to be 26th. Starting the cars, being one lap or multiple laps down, is going to be Kyle Kamer in the 8th. Shane Ewing in the number 32 car is going to be 28th. Rodney Wofford, a guy who started up in the front on that last restart is going to finish 29th, and Leon Castro, a guy who had trouble on pit road all day, is going to be 30th.
Finishing 31st will be Chris Parkman. 32nd is going to be Austin Coop. Ross Cato finishes 33rd. 34th is going to be Gabe Wood. 35th will be Colby Buck. Galen Gidman will be finishing 36th. 37th is going to be Scott Walter. 38th, Chris Gilman. 39th, Dwayne Vincent. And running at the top 40 will be Carl Shedd. And finishing your field, 41st will be Shane Parrish. 42nd, Rod Fleck. And 43rd will be Andrew Fernaires, and I definitely butchered that last name, my apologies. Meanwhile, we will shoot down to Brian Macklin, who has Daniel Eberhardt in Victory Lane.
And it's Andrew Fernaires. We get to make fun of his name all the time, but I'm down here in Victory Lane with the driver number 90, Daniel Eberhardt. And Dan, last year it took you 10 races to score your first victory of the season. In 2018, it's going to take you just 2 races to go to Victory Lane. Take us through your night and take us through your incredible victory.
Whew, what kind of night was it? Up and down, I was, farthest back I was 10th, and I thought for a little while there we were just going to have a bunch of cautions, and we weren't going to have a shot at it. Me and old Dylan Jones we were trying to get back up through the field, and I got a good restart on one of them restarts when the bottom lane checked up and jumped down to the bottom, and the outside lane checked up into 1 and 2, and that's where I made my march up there and got behind Bowie, and then we came down for a pit stop, and Bowie was, I think Bowie had a bad stop there, and a couple guys stayed out. I think that was when Seth and all them stayed out, and we had a couple good restarts, and I guess good Lord was on my side right there for getting them restarts down pat, and everybody getting up through the gearbox and not spinning the tires in my lane.
And Dan, with less than 10 laps to go, you take the lead, and then you look in your mirror, and pretty much everybody behind you, from second on back to about 10th, was battling really hard for position, and it allowed you to get a pretty good gap. I bet you were smiling pretty big when you saw that in your mirror.
To be honest with you, I wasn't looking in the mirror. I've been wanting to win at Atlanta for a long time. This is a tough track for me to be from here and from Georgia and everything, and I just wanted to knock it off my list of winning here, and it really means a lot to me. And Brian, I just never looked in the mirror. I just kept on trucking, and just with I think the first time I looked in the mirror was about right through 1 and 2 when that caution came out, and I was hoping that we could race it out to the end to end under green, but it just wasn't meant to be.
Well, for when you go back and watch it on the stream, I'm going to give you a little preview. They were 3 wide, sometimes trying to go 4 wide in your mirror, going after every position they could back there, trying to battle out. So you're going to have quite an exciting moment when you get to sit back and watch that and realize that you were not a part of that. You were driving away from it, and I'm sure you're going to be very happy about that. And you just mentioned you got a big win here at Atlanta, and you kicked off the season in such a good way. Getting this win early, how does it help the momentum for your team moving forward, knowing that you've already got that win? You don't have to worry about how long is it going to take. Now you can just focus on going out there and trying to score as many points as possible and trying to put yourself in position to go after that championship towards the end of the season.
Well, we got an old school, new school this year with the format we're running at Full Throttle Cup, and it's going to be fun because winning doesn't mean anything anymore. It's all about racking up points, and that's what I came to do. I finished 3rd at Daytona, and to win tonight is going to give me a good advantage going on into the rest of this segment, and it's kind of exciting. You know, our team, we're looking good. You know, we're not the best at plate racing. If anything, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but if anything, I'm the guys help when we're plate racing. We're not plate racers. We focus really hard on these 1.5 miles and short tracks, and we'll kick it into high gear. Dylan and me look good tonight, and Dave looked good. He finally started coming up towards the front, and you have to avoid the wrecks, man. It's 43 cars, and it's really tough, you know, dealing with what you got to deal with, and then you got a loose car on top of it. And when you're sliding around out there and you're having to work the throttle, we're not even full throttle down the front straightaway, so it's really rough. And I think when we get through a couple of these races, I think everybody's going to figure out each other's driving style. And we had it going there at the beginning of the race, so I believe we will put down more green flag runs in the near future.
Absolutely, and it was a great race here tonight, and obviously you came away with the big victory. Before we let you go, Dan, just want to give you a chance to say thank you to your sponsors and say hi to any friends or family. Who makes it happen for you on that number 90 machine, Dan?
Well, first off, I got to give a huge shout out to Andy Kessler. I didn't give him one last week when I finished third, and I felt really bad about it. You
can't leave out Andy.
Yeah, he's a huge help to us. He spots for Dave, but he's always in and out of the chat with us and talking to us when he's not talking to Dave in game chat, and he really helps us out, gives us lap times and stuff. And he's just all around a very genuine guy, and love him to death. Then I got to thank Kamer Jones for racing hard tonight. It was fun with old Dilly Dilly. And then Ross Cato, James Ross, Carl Shedd, Dave Washington, Andrew especially. Andrew's probably my best friend that I gained on this game. He was a big aspect into my life coming in here. He makes it very fun to be around him, and we probably are on here every night for at least a couple hours. And then everybody else at Aegis, just big help. PowerTech, Serve Pro, with Shane Parrish. It's just a lot of people putting in a lot of effort. And then I got to, first off, say sorry to my girlfriend, and she means the world to me, and it's just wonderful having somebody, the love of your life, with you every day, watching you do the things you love, and you guys for what you guys do. English Auto for coming on and sponsoring the series, and it's going to be a fun season. Everybody, all the fans, stay tuned, because it's going to be a bumpy and worth the shot of watching the whole season, and just stay tuned.
All right, well, congrats on your win here tonight at Atlanta. Go celebrate with your teammates, and have a good night. We'll catch you next week at Las Vegas.
Thanks, Brian.
That was Daniel Eberhardt. His first win of the 2018 campaign comes in the second race of the season here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And now we're going trackside down to Pit Road, where I believe Gary Weaver has caught up with our second place finisher, Brandon Bowie, down on Pit Road.
Yeah, we got Brandon Bowie here, driver the number 43, and goodness gracious, Brandon Bowie. Well, walk us through your entire race, but of course, first I do want to mention that you were 0.148 seconds faster just before that caution came out within 5 laps to go.
Yeah, that race was pretty crazy. The beginning of the race was pretty good for us. We just, kind of minded our P's and Q's and kind of see what we had at the beginning. It looks like we had some speed, so kind of went out, tried to get to the front a little bit, lead some laps, kind of see how it was. I was actually trying to lead the most laps if I could, but I don't know if I was able to get that done. But unfortunately, towards the end, the cautions really kind of, I guess, didn't play in my favor. I think the last caution, or last couple cautions, I came down to pit road and just had a horrible pit stop. Basically lost the lead. And from there, it was all about just trying to claw back and get the highest position I could.
Well, you definitely did an amazing job at doing that, but unfortunately, you couldn't run down Daniel Eberhardt in time. But were you taking a look in your mirror at that battle behind you? Because, oh my goodness, it was definitely insane from up here.
Yeah. I did look in the mirror a couple times. That last restart was absolutely crazy. I thought a couple times that we were going to probably end up crashed, but somehow the holes opened up, and I just took whatever was available. But yeah, they raced very hard behind me. I'm very surprised we didn't wreck earlier before I even got past them. But overall, it was a decent race. I would have loved to see if I could have caught Daniel there, but good win to him.
Well, we're on the topic of congratulating or thanking people. Anybody that you would like to thank before we go ahead and let you go?
Yeah, I got to thank the whole Last Car Loaded Motorsports new team that just basically came together not too long ago before the season started. We're still having a little bit of struggles, but I think that tonight we pretty much showed that we are fast. Couple little things we can definitely work on, so got to definitely thank them, thank family and you guys for putting on broadcasting the show as always. Got to thank our RSR, got to thank the man above.
Well, thank you for putting on an amazing show for us and the viewers tonight. You did an amazing job. We will hopefully see you get more than just the top 2 at Phoenix next week.
Thank you.
So that was Brendan Bowie, your second place finisher, and I believe Brendan has also finally caught up with Seth DeMerchant.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. I found Seth the Merchant down here on pit road. Seth, you had a tremendous save early in the race. You ran the top 10 the entire race. I mean, you cracked the top 3 multiple times. You looked like you had a better car on the outside than most of the field. You just had to deal with those outside lanes on those restarts. What do you have to say about this race in P-Money's Chevrolet?
Yeah, just made a few too many mistakes at the beginning, kind of put me behind, and I had to work strategy to put myself up there at the end. Kind of messed up on that 2 in 2 out, not used to it, and I had to back up, and then got in that incident on the backstretch and pitted under green, went a lap down, and my race really didn't even feel like started until we got past halfway, and then drove all the way up to about P10, stayed out, 2 tires there at the end, and just held on.
Speaking of those challenges that you face, can you explain to the viewers the difference between this type of racing versus the superspeedway racing that you're used to on every Friday night?
Well, in the superspeedway, it's all about the draft and just holding it wide open, picking which lanes to be in at the right time. And tonight, completely different game. Using a lot of brake going down in the corner, rolling a ton, and really once you get past about 10 laps on the tires, you're never really full throttle on the straightaways. A lot of tire wear here tonight, probably the most on iRacing on any track. Cars are just a handful to drive. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I'm happy to see you representing the Super Speedway Cup Series and other series here on LSRTV. Do you have anyone to thank after this performance tonight?
Just Rod Flag for sponsoring me to run.
Cool, and that's your 3rd place finisher, Seth the Merchant. Brian, I'm going to send it back over to you to close us out.
Well, I want to start by saying what an incredible race we saw here tonight out of Atlanta. We started off, had a couple of pretty decent green flag runs, and then things kind of calmed down a little bit, and we got rolling, and had a couple of wrecks in the second half of the race, but what incredible racing we saw at the end of this thing. The 3-wide racing that we saw battling through the top 10 for those guys, that was some of the best racing I think I've ever seen, and it really gets me excited about what we have coming up this season in this series. There are so many competitive drivers that can go for it and challenge for race victories. I mean, you look at that top 10, you look at the guys that ran inside the top 10, any one of them could have had a shot to win the race, and then there's even a few drivers that didn't quite get the finishes they were looking for here tonight. I think about a couple of guys that were winners last year, Andrew Freenars, Carl Shedd. Those guys, they didn't have the nights they were looking for, but they definitely can continue to get themselves into the hunt. It's just going to be a really exciting season. I cannot wait to see what's coming forward.
Yeah, next week is going to be really exciting for Phoenix because, oh my goodness, especially because it's a different track in its own way for, especially compared to Atlanta and then Daytona as well. So basically we'll be heading to essentially what would be 3 different tracks in terms of handling and how to race there as well. But especially just how Phoenix is, with its dogleg on the back straightaway as well. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how everyone plays their own strategy out next week, and see if some people that couldn't get a win couldn't get a win tonight can actually get a win next week as well.
Yeah, it's certainly a 180 from going to Daytona to Atlanta to next week. So, I mean, these drivers are facing every type of element that everyone would finish in, or everyone would face in any other type of Cup Series league. So it's very interesting the different players that come into play at different tracks, as you were saying.
All right, guys. Well, what a great night we had here tonight, and this does conclude our coverage of the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series powered by English Auto LLC on LSRTV from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. I must first start by thanking the guys behind the scenes, Kyle Barnes and Austin Coop, for all of their work keeping the league up and running and keeping things going every single week. Big thanks to Evan Pasoko, James Pike, DJ Lyon, and Laura Lawson for everything they do for LSRTV behind the scenes. And then, of course, I got to thank tonight's broadcast crew, Gary Weaver and Brandon Cruz Montevice, and then of course myself, Brian Macklin. And we also had Cisco Scaramuza down in the production trailer. Got to thank him for all of his dedication and hard work week in and week out. He does a lot of stuff behind the scenes that nobody gets to know about, and he's an incredible part of this team. If you want to see what is coming up live here on LSRTV, be sure to check out our website, www.livesimracing.com, for an updated schedule of events. Once again, I'm Brian Macklin. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you actually in 2 weeks' time from tonight here or live on LSRTV at the Phoenix Speedway. Good night, everybody.